Fighting at the front, fighting at the front, fighting at the front. The old gray mare was fighting at the front many long years ago. Many long years ago.
Good evening, every pony, and welcome to the Old Gray Mare, bringing you the biggest names in pony fandom, all for charity. We've got an extra special show for you today featuring some of the most well-known convention organizers in the fandom. In no particular order, we've got Glittering Pony from Equestria LA, Chef Sandy from Nightmare Nights Dallas, Jade Aurora from DrawCon and pretty much every other convention ever, Sonia Hipper from BabsCon, Bajati from Everfree Northwest, and last but definitely not least, Josh Dean from OG Brony Convention, BronyCon. Now, it's been a couple of years since we had an episode of the Old Gray Mare, so we're going to go over our format a little bit here. So first of all, we are a panel-based show, which means that we have a number of people who all have something in common. In this case, they're all con-orgs. We have some pre-prepared questions, but we also take questions from the audience. If you have a question that you'd like to ask our panelists, be free to type them into the chat box. Now, to type them in, you have to have an account. So make sure that you actually have an account on StreamUp.com, which is our new stream provider. That being said, I hope everyone's done their mic checks, because I am about to open the floodgates and call pretty much every con-org in the fandom. Okay, maybe half the con-orgs in the fandom. So here goes.
Yo.
Hello, hello.
It begins.
Can you hear me? Do I sound okay?
Everyone sounds great. Hey.
Hi.
Let's do a quick mic check on everyone. Someone is not using headphones. I hear myself. There's always someone. Okay, let's do a mic check around. Jade?
Testing.
Great. Emily?
Testing.
Karen?
Testing.
Josh?
What's up?
Sandy?
Yo.
Sonia?
Howdy.
And Bajati.
Mic check, mic check, check, check.
Okay, we got every pony. This is great. I think this is the first time we've had no mic problems on a panel this large. You guys are OG pros. So, for those who are not familiar with the format of the show, every time I do this show, I have a different co-host. This time, I am joined by the wonderful Emily Jones of Pegasisters Live. Say hi, Emily.
Hi, guys.
And we're going to be tag teaming the others on doing some questions. Some of the questions are going to be fixed, and some of them are going to be pulled from the chat room. So as a reminder, if you want to ask a question, you have to have an account on StreamUp. You can't just comment if you're a guest. That's not how it works. So let's open with something a little bit general, just to break the ice a little bit. I'm going to start with introductions, round robin style, and we're going to do these in no particular order, starting with Jade. So Jade, tell us who you are and what you do, and a little bit about yourself.
How did I know you were going to start with me? My name's Jade. I've worked for a lot of conventions, actually almost everyone represented here. Right now I'm the vice chair of DrawCon, which is a small Massachusetts-based convention. We've got about 300 people. We're a animation and cartoon convention specifically, though. We're not just a My Little Pony convention. I got started with BronyCon. Been working in the con scene for 3 years, and I've worked for something upwards of 20 different conventions at this point.
That's quite impressive. I don't know if you heard what I did when I introduced you, but I basically said she's worked for pretty much every con ever, which is essentially true.
Yeah, more or less.
Name a con, you've done something with it, and that's why I wanted you on this panel. So, next on our list, we've got Sonia Hipper. So, Sonia, tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sonia. I'm the founder and con chair of BabsCon. And actually, you're not going to believe this, but that was actually my first time in April being any kind of senior staff at any con ever anywhere. Because, you know, I just had to dive into the deep end like an idiot.
I know that feeling, oddly enough. Okay, let's see who's next on our list, if I can find my show notes. Next is Bajati. Bajati, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey-yo. Yep, I go by Bajati. My real name is Austin, but no one knows that. I am the founder and current co-chair of Everfree Northwest up in Seattle, and I've been a pretty large part of the community since the middle of the first season. I don't know if you want me to go into general details of that.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, because it's kind of a fun journey. I started out moderating a channel on SyncTube, if anyone has ever heard of that. Moved on to be one of the first founders of the Brony meetup groups. Was Seattle, Portland, and New York. We started at Free Northwest at the end of 2011. We created our company, and I think I was 20 years old at that time. So I couldn't actually drink at our first event, which is kind of funny. Or, well, legally, but, I didn't drink, of course.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and we've been going strong for 4 years, and I don't know where I get the sanity.
Did you say sanity?
Yeah.
What's that?
I think it's French.
I've never heard of it.
Cool. So let's see. Next we have Josh Dean, who is my very own successor as chair of BronyCon. Josh, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Josh Dean. I'm a Scorpio. I like gourmet cooking, long walks on the beach, and running a convention called BronyCon. I am the current chairman of BronyCon, going for my second year currently.
Which, by the way, is actually a record. You have the current duration record for who's held that post the longest, not in terms of number of shows, but number of years. So here's hoping.
I suppose. Nothing to really hope for. It's happening. .gif.
Awesome sauce. All right, who's next? We've got Chef Sandy. Chef Sandy, or just Sandy, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
All right, well, I'm Sandy, otherwise known as Jeremy in the real world. I am the founder and co-chairman of Nightmare Nights Dallas. Been playing this convention game for 8 years now, running 10 conventions. And basically, I and my co-chair started up Nightmare Nights 2 years ago, and we're still going strong. Been part of this fandom since the ride began. Probably longer than most of you here, except for perhaps Tinker.
Yeah, I've got a little gray in my hair at this point. Cool. So, and last but not least, we have Glittering Pony of Equestria LA, which is back, folks. It's back. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
My name is Karen Padilla. A lot of people know me by Glittering Pony, though. I'm one of the 4 original co-founders for Equestria LA, and I'm currently the con chair for Equestria LA, and it is back, so yay for the rumors being true. And I've worked at a few of the conventions that are present in this chat room, doing VIP, and I've worked for a few other bigger conventions doing various other jobs, and I'm looking forward to throwing another EQLA, hopefully next year.
Excellent. I hope to make it out that way sometime. Cool. So, with the introductions out of the way, let's move into our list of questions here. And again, if you have a question that you want to ask, be sure to toss it into the chat box, and we'll give it a consideration. Try not to spam, though, because sometimes we get someone who just mashes repeat. So we're going to do alternating questions most of the time. I'll do the first question, Emily will do one, I'll do one, and we'll see how things go from there. So let's open with this one. What motivated you to become a convention organizer? Let's see, who shall I pick from my list? Sonia.
God.
Sorry.
Bless it.
What motivated you to become a con org?
Well, long story short, I was just doing it for great justice because there was no PonyCon in the Bay Area. And the Bay Area is the Bay Area, which makes it pretty much the best place on Earth. Not that I'm biased or anything. And I just saw this as a horror in the universe that we didn't have one. So I said, heck with it, I'll make one. And everyone said, you can't do it. And I said, yes, I can. And then I did. It was a very, very good story.
That sounds a little familiar. It's kind of like what happened with BronyCon. All right, let's see. Next I will choose Sandy. Chef Sandy, how did you get into the con org biz?
Well, it was back in 2007 or so. I and a group of my friends decided, hey, we're going to start a furry con here in Dallas. And so we did. That's going into its 8th operational year. And then a little while later, it's like, I've done this with Furry Fiesta. Why not do a PonyCon here in Dallas? We have the population. We have the resources and infrastructure for it. Why not? And thus we did. I and my co-chair, Bob, we co-founded. I misspoke earlier, and gathered forth a motley crew of experienced folks and decided to put on a con. because we could.
The aperture science answer. I like that. I can get behind that. Okay, so let's see. Let's get some input from Karen, Glittering Pony. What motivated you to create Equestria LA?
Well, I went to my first Brony meetup. I think it was January of, I think it was 2012. I might not have my dates right, but I went and everyone was talking about this BronyCon that had just happened. And so I went online and I checked it out and I said, you know what? We could do it. We could do it better. So that's kind of what motivated, is that everyone really wanted one. And we were a very large and quick growing meetup group. And I just didn't see why there shouldn't be one when we were so close to the majority of, the pre-production staff. And then I went to BronyCon and it caught on fire and I said, yeah, we can definitely do this.
Very cool. Now, when you say on fire, are you talking about the ceiling lamp or...
Right.
No, I just had to make that joke. Okay, so I guess since we mentioned BronyCon, let's talk to Josh Dean. What motivated you to become a convention organizer?
You know, it's really funny. It all really kind of started with I just wanted to score a pair of free tickets to BronyCon. That's actually literally how it started. Truth be told, BronyCon June 2012, the one with the great infamous fire that Karen was just talking about, was the very first convention I ever went to. Funny enough, on top of that, I really didn't honestly want to go. My girlfriend at the time was over the moon excited about the fact that, so many people were going, and she twisted my arm into going. But go we went, and I had a fantastic time, so kudos to that team. After going and driving back to Milwaukee, all the way from New Jersey, I thought to myself that I really wanted to contribute in some way to the fandom. Now, I don't write stories, I can't draw for crap. By profession, I am a web developer. So I went to BronyCon and said, "Hey, your website is crap. Let me fix it." Because for those who remember, the June 2012 website was pretty horrendous. It was black with lots of colors. And not in a really good way. If I remember correctly, Fulner, my current vice chair, actually did the development for it. But long story short, they brought me on to do their website, and they shoved me in the PR department, which, funny enough, Jade was running at the time. And it was all just supposed to be so I can score a pair of free tickets for me and my girlfriend to go relax and enjoy BronyCon. But it quickly became more and more than that. As I found myself being really good at this sort of thing, to the point where I was just making my way up the ranks month by month, year by year, until we eventually got here, where I am now running the con itself. It's a great American dream, folks. Start from the bottom, work your way to the top. You heard it here.
Yeah, come here on the Mayflower and end up running a convention for My Little Pony fans. That's what this country is all about. Cool. Okay, so let's see. Who's next on the list? Jade, what motivated you to become a convention organizer?
Actually, I've been going to conventions since 2006. My first convention was Anthrocon. I've always wanted to give something back to conventions, but I've never really had an opportunity. So I started going to BronyCon when they started. I didn't manage to get to the first one, but I went to the September convention, and I went to the January convention. After that, I went home and I went on the website, or the meetup group at the time, and I was so psyched for the next one. I wanted to, read up and keep up with it, and everyone was asking these questions, and they all just seemed like so much common sense. So I sat down one day, almost out of frustration, and I just answered every single question on the entire meetup group. And then I got an email from Yarrick the next day asking if I wanted a job doing that for BronyCon. From there, I've had an issue saying no to conventions, and I've just kept kind of like what Josh did. It was just an online PR thing. I was the head of PR in about a month when the current head of PR at the time, Zephyr, moved up to vice chair. And it's just gone from there, and I've been finding that I love it more and more, and I've been spending more and more time in conventions and working with conventions, and yeah, it's just kind of been a spiral since then.
Seek help.
A spiral. I like that one. So last we've got Bajati. Bajati, what motivated you to become a convention organizer?
All right. Ooh, I just saw the bid jump up to 600. That makes me happy. Man, so I think it was 2007 I first went to my first large-scale convention. It was PAX up here in Seattle, and I was 15 at the time, I believe. And I absolutely loved the atmosphere. I can't believe I hadn't gone to a convention before that. And like the year that I turned 18 and was actually able to enforce PAX, I went, and it was PAX East, and I've been doing both of them ever since. So when the pony community started to grow, I think it was about May 2011, after the first season was kind of declining, the meetups were starting to grow. We kind of were joking around about the potential of starting a convention. At that time, there were not conventions in this community. So we tried to kind of get a feel for it by putting on a big summer event we called Northwest Brony Fest. We've had it in Portland, and I believe it's the first community event that exceeded 100 people, which is pretty cool. And then around November of that year, we got together and started being more serious. Like, you know what? I think this community seriously can support a convention. And at that time, BronyCon in the East was starting to grow into what I would consider actually, full-on organized convention, departments, weekend long. So we knew it was definitely possible. We gave ourselves 9 months to get something going, thinking we'd pull in about 300 people, 300, 400 people. Ended up getting, I think, 1,400 by the end, which blew our minds, and it was rather stressful. But the reason that I really went towards it is that I just wanted to see what this community could do. There was so much creative content coming out from every corner of the internet just through ponies. For some reason, everyone's pushing these just ambitious content everywhere for free because they want to. So I wanted to give the community a good name and see how big we could get, and I'm frankly really amazed at where we've gotten now.
I think all of us are, and well said, by the way. Okay, so that's gotten through the origin stories of every pony, so now we can start picking random questions from our pool and seeing where this goes. Now, before I turn this over for a moment to my co-host, Emily Jones, I would like to take the opportunity to promote today's charity. Now, for those of you who are new to this show, every time we do the show, we have a different... Someone just cut off. Well, every time we do the show, we have a different charity. This time, we are doing a charity auction for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, guys. You can actually get a half a page of prose written by G.M. Barrow herself, A.K. Yearling in the flesh, and she will write whatever you want to, pony-based, G-rated, mind you, and it won't be canon, but she will write it. And then it will be illustrated by none other than Leakfish, who's, besides one of the most well-known artists in the fandom, she's also official con artist for at least 2 or 3 conventions. This will all be framed, it will all be signed, and it will all be sent to you, framed and signed as a once-in-a-lifetime, one-of-a-kind masterpiece for you to hang on your wall and cherish. And there's only one of those up for grabs. Now, we have a charity auction going, and if you want to bid, current bid just jumped up, actually, to a wonderful $1,010, but it's going to keep going up, guys. This is historical stuff here. You can go to greymare.net/auction. That's GREYMARE.net/auction. The link is right there on the stream, on the video, for those of you who are following along. And this is going to benefit our charity, which was chosen this time by the artists themselves, by Ms. Barrow and by Leakfish, which is Equality Now, one of the most well-known and influential women's rights charities in the world, which just fits in wonderfully with the origin story of the show, how Lauren Faust, as a feminist, created the show to show that there's more than one way to be a girl, and it's always been about projecting positive self-image and the notion of choice and self-determination for girls and women everywhere. So it's really a wonderful charity, and I am pleased as punch to be helping bring them money from this wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Again, check it out at graymare.net/auction. You're not going to get another opportunity like this. This is amazing stuff. And in case you're unfamiliar with Leakfish, her work went for, Josh, was it $2,700 at the last BronyCon?
That's a good question. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was definitely over 2,000. I've heard the number 2,700 bandied around. But anyways, this is probably going to be a better deal than you'll get at a convention for something you might not even be able to find at a convention. And it all goes to a great cause by the choice of the artists themselves. So I've done enough promotional stuff. I'm starting to think I should get a job at NPR. I'm going to turn things over to Emily for a while. And Emily, why don't you run the ponies through their paces, give them a couple of questions.
Sounds good. All right. Well, there was actually a question in the chatty box. We broke the site. What happened?
Yeah, apparently we actually broke the site. We have so many people listening to this, we actually broke the site. This is remarkable stuff, people. But don't worry, because everything is getting archived, and we are going to put up the raw recording immediately after the show ends, and a cleaned up recording ready for podcasting probably within a week.
Okay.
Well, that raises an interesting question. When are we closing bids on the auction? When this thing ends live?
Yeah, we close bids at 1 a.m. Eastern, which is 10 p.m. Pacific.
There you have it.
So is everything good? Do I just keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
All right,
and
just want to make sure.
Yeah. If someone drops out, they can always check it out on the auction, and the chat box should be a little more robust anyways. We're now up to 170 viewers, so this is getting pretty crowded.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. All right, well, I'm going to read a question that was left in the chatty box, and that was, I'm interested in organizing my own con. Where should I start?
Can I field that?
Yeah, sure.
The first thing to say is, don't!
Don't.
No, I'm just kidding.
Don't.
Yeah, no,
Don't
just
do it.
Don't do it.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of the folks here can say this better than I can, but since I came into it with so little experience, and I'm sure that that's probably where the question is coming from, is a place of inexperience. The best things in the world that you can do are, first off, start volunteering at other cons, like a lot, because then you'll learn how cons work from the inside. During the year or so while I was setting up BabsCon, I volunteered at several cons in my area, like Further Confusion and Baycon and Convolution and a bunch of others, just to see what made them tick. The other thing is, make friends with a lot of the people that are in this call. If it weren't for folks like Tinker and Glittering Pony, I would, and all the rest of you as inspiration, of course, I would never have been able to make BabsCon happen at all. It would have just been horrible. And this, of course, in a time... Ooh, I like it. This in a time when nobody gave a new PonyCon a chance, because we were just organizing it at the very first, right after the con that shall not be named. The Scottish con. Well, the Las Vegas con, anyway.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I told Dusty Cat about it, and the first thing he said was, this fandom needs another con like it needs a hole in the head. That's my terrible Dusty Cat impression.
That was a very
I thought it was
I don't
actually
disagree
pretty
with
good.
that.
at a certain point.
At this point, perhaps, but I just knew it in my heart, and I know what he had told me it was impossible, except for about 1,000 times, but I still didn't believe it was impossible, so I did it anyway, and that's how I got started. But the most important thing is, learn what you don't know, and once you know what you don't know, learn it.
Really good advice.
And then find the next thing that you don't know, because there will always be more that you don't know.
Oh well, yes. What is the saying that the first sign of wisdom is knowing that you know nothing?
Oh, yeah.
That means I'm still very wise, like right now. I know all. Uh-oh, I did it. I'm the first one. Party foul.
It's okay. Do you want to... Okay, we'll go to Josh now. Do you want to... Yeah.
Oh, in relation to this specific question?
Yes, please.
Well, I really can't give a better answer than Sonia and everybody else who exclaimed at the same time, don't. If you're looking to start your own con, as everyone else has said, don't. Go volunteer a convention. Actually, first and foremost, go to a convention. if you've not actually been to a convention. That's probably 10 times more important. Otherwise, volunteer. Do something that you feel that you have the capability of doing for a con. Every con has a spot probably for you, as long as you are competent, and everybody is competent enough to be able to do something at a convention. So, yeah. I mean, really, there's no better answer than don't, but if you want to work a con, go volunteer at an existing convention.
Yeah, if you really refuse to accept don't as the answer, then try as best as you can to get some experience. I mean, I know a lot of us kind of just jumped in without too much experience, and the risk ended up paying off, but especially as the convention scene in this community gets more and more crowded, as we've seen, especially a couple of years ago, this was a huge issue, the risk of failing gets so much greater. So make sure that what you're planning to start, if you're doing a convention in a different field, that you have enough of a community to actually become attendees to that convention to be feasible to actually put it on.
One thing,
You know what?
And I guess it's even if like that's not enough, and you still want to run a convention, let me try to scare you straight a little bit more. I won't have you like comb my chest or anything like that.
Yeah.
This won't be that kind of scared straight. But in the last 2 to 3 years, the convention scene, as in conventions in general, that scene have had a lot of problems with mismanagement that have created sometimes crippling waves from their poor mistakes.
And ball pits. Don't forget ball pits.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything directly.
Oh, goodness.
But every time a convention fails, everybody finds out about it. It's not just pony conventions. I mean, for example, and I'll say it, Las Pegasus Unicon, anime conventions look at that convention as an example of the worst run convention in history, and as an example of what not to do. Anime conventions that have been around for 20 years have used that as an example of what goes wrong and how they end up feeling the crippling effects of it. So when you sit here and you feel like you want to run a convention, make absolutely sure that you actually want to do it. You can put forth the time in it, and that you can actually work to make it succeed. Because every time, unlike kind of the opposite of every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. Every time a con fails, a con chair gets drunk, really badly. And we don't have impermeable livers, guys. So please save everybody some alcohol poisoning.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Well,
That's true. Everyone's watching.
Forget what it does to the convention community, but you also need to realize that you yourself become responsible for a huge amount of debt if things go wrong. We're not talking like a couple $1,000s, guys. We're talking
a good $5 figures.
$1,000 maybe.
Yeah, I can say that from
$200,000.
personal experience. You can get yourself into a lot of hot water if you don't know what you're doing and it goes wrong. I'm actually going to hop in here and just say, if you don't know what the term market research means, you don't need to be starting a convention. One of the biggest things you need to start, if you really, really, really absolutely insist on, I have to start my own convention, I have to be the top dog, my area needs this convention, you need to truly ask yourself, does your area need the convention that you're trying to create? Do we need another PonyCon? I'm just going to use my area for example. Do we need a PonyCon in Boston? No, there's one in New York City, there's one in Baltimore. Maybe I can't personally drive to it, but how many people are in that same boat? Those are the kind of questions you really truly need to ask, because you need to understand that not everyone's going to have the same issues that you do, and not everyone's going to have the same challenges you do in getting to these conventions, and you need to understand what the general attendee is going to want. That's the biggest thing, is making sure that the attendees don't burn out, you don't oversaturate the convention scene with, all these duplicate conventions, because attendees can typically only go to 1 or 2 a year, and that's something you really need to think about before you really jump on the boat.
And a quick comment on the potential other things you can do besides a convention, because I know EQLA, before doing that, they had their, was it the Grand Galloping Gala is what you called it? Or no?
Yeah, we did the gala and we did the March Mayorathon.
Yeah, and up in the Northwest, we started out doing, as I mentioned before, Northwest Brony Fest, which was essentially a 2-day bonanza in Portland where we didn't have a central location. We just explored the city and had a whole bunch of really great fun in the middle of summer. Those events, frankly, are way easier to organize and way more fun to put on.
Actually, this brings up a very stellar point, and maybe one to kind of end on. Even if something like that is a little too daunting, this is where I started, but doing meetup groups. Meetup groups are very good kind of like entry-level event organization sort of things. And anybody can do them. And as long as you have people in your area who seem interested in that topic, people are going to go to meetups. Even if it's just like, hey, look, I like to do Adventure Time. We should totes go bowling and do some brunch. People will go to that because people like Adventure Time and people like to go bowling and have brunch. And then you can kind of plan that and use that to expand your knowledge in terms of event planning.
Actually, one last thing is that if you're the founder, you also have a lot of additional problems than if you're walking into an existing con. You have to gather a staff around you. You have to make people believe that you can do it. You have to find. You have to first you're going to wear 5 or 10 hats, and then you have to start letting go of them, which is also hard. So just beware.
So basically what you're saying is that con orgs play Team Fortress 2.
Yes.
I was just talking about doing that right now.
All right, so you want to move on to the next question, guys?
Sounds
Make
good to
things
me.
a little happier. All right, so what is the cutest thing you've ever seen happen at a convention?
I would say last year at Nightmare Nights, we had Andrea Libman as one of our guests, and Bob's daughter, my co-chair, she was 2 at the time, and Andrea busted out a Pinkie Pie voice, and Pinkie Pie is Lena's absolute favorite pony. So she was talking, and then Lena walks up to the stage and goes, "Pinkie Pie?" Like her mind was blown. She heard Pinkie Pie, but she wasn't watching TV. So that was that was panel stopping.
That's actually mine too, so.
It's adorable.
Totally adorable. I'm surprised you didn't mention Borg's wedding, though, because that was also pretty damn adorable.
I was
too busy to actually see it.
I was just outside the door when that happened, and I remember looking up and hearing Rarity's voice, singing da 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 da. I'm like, what is going on here?
A glittering pony?
Yeah, actually, it's what Sandy just said because I was there when that happened at Nightmare Nights as well, and it was really, really cute.
Jade, do you have an answer?
I have to go with the crowd. That's kind of a hard one to really beat.
I've got 2 actually that are pretty damn awesome.
Let's hear it.
I can't decide between them, and they both happened at my con. Not that I'm trying to be all like yay, Babs gone, even though I am. Okay, both of them involved Nicole Oliver as well, which is interesting. So right at the beginning of the con, we actually had organized a little moment, and it was brilliant. One of our top-end $2,500 sponsor members wanted to basically donate all of his privileges, if you will, to a young guest, to a child. And said, you find the right child. And I found this adorable little moppet at a sci-fi con when I was tabling who just kept coming back and coming back and coming back and wanting to hold my little Twilight Sparkle plushie. So what we did was we got Nicole to we arranged the timing with the kids' parents and with Nicole, and so everyone came together in the lobby, and Nicole coronated this young girl as princess for the rest of the con. She just about died. Everyone died of and for the whole rest of the con, people they would bump into this girl. Your Highness, welcome. It was just the most adorable thing ever, and apparently it made her year.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was. I just it felt so good to be able to do that for a kid, you know? And then the other one was totally spontaneous, which was when, on I think it was the Sunday voice actor panel, a young boy walks up and just directly asks if Nicole will sing to him, "You Are My Sunshine." And she does. She just gets right down there, like kneels down next to this boy and just sings "You Are My Sunshine" to this young boy. And again, the heart attacks were rampant.
Oh my goodness.
This fandom. You know, I actually have a cute story of my own that might be a little before most of y'all's time. Did I say that right, Sandy? Most of y'all's? Or is it all
Yes.
y'all's? Okay. This was before BronyCon January 2012, the infamous hallway con. We were going into the city in the limo company van with Andrea and Nicole. Ashley hadn't arrived yet. And as she catches sight of the New York City skyline, all of a sudden, Andrea spontaneously goes, "Yay!" And it was just all I could do to stop from just squeeing in the middle of the car. It was so cute.
Man, I got grammar tonight. Trying to narrow down
what
one
is
of the
grammar?
cutest, one of the cutest moments, because it's when you start putting on these conventions, focusing for the kids to come in, get more and more kids. It's constant. You just keep an eye out for it, and it's everywhere. I know. I just went to Ponyville Cider Fest in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago, and they had a dance stage outside their main area, and like kind of in the upper lobby, and for I think the majority of the con, when they're playing random music, just kids were dancing on the stage, and watching kids dance is the cutest thing. I don't care what anyone says. But I also have a story very similar to the other Nicole stories, very similar to Sonia's, I believe. And I really hope I'm not mixing two different stories together, but I believe it was the first ever free that there was a child going up during the Q&A section of the voice actor panel that just couldn't get her words out. She got so nervous and so shy that she like almost went in tears and went back and to sit down. And Nicole immediately stood up, went off the stage, sat down next to her, hugged her, and kind of talked her through the question off the mic. And I mean, seriously, those VAs really, really know how to bring it to the kids.
I wish I could have seen Nicole at one of the events she did for us, where she actually went and read. We had a kids area, a whole big area just for them, and we had listed something on the program called Story Time with Celestia. And you're figuring, oh, it's a con, they'll just trot out a Celestia cosplayer, it's just the kids. And it was like, nope, 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 nope. And that was actually her idea. Nicole went and read stories to the kids for an hour, and I just wish I could have seen that. I really wish I could have.
Yeah, Nicole in particular has always been really, really big on the kids. Like even at her first appearance in January 2012, if I recall, she had the kids come up and sit in the front so that they could get a better view of her. And she's always been sort of a mother figure to the fandom and to the younger kids in the fandom, and it's just totally adorable.
Well, she is Celestia. She's actually Celestia.
Exactly. I mean, she is Celestia. We just got another bid. It is up to a startling $1,123, guys. The charity in this fandom just beggars disbelief. And it's probably going to go a lot higher before the night is over. Again, bids close at 1 a.m. Okay, so while we're all recovering from cute-induced heart attacks, let's go into another question. Now, I'm going to be reflecting back a little bit on something that we talked about earlier about, if you wanted to start your own con, what should you do? And the general consensus was basically don't take it easy, do your homework and your research and figure out what's going on. And that's, it's a sentiment I can get behind. But here's something that's sort of related. Now, all of us, I'd say at least half of us, were all newbies to running cons before we ran a con. So we didn't know what we were getting into. For some of us, obviously, that wasn't true. Sandy has been in the con scene since before bronies were a thing. But for some of us, we just sort of leapt in feet first, and, well, that's what happened. So what would you say is the biggest misconception about con.org work, or more generally, something that someone who isn't a con.org might not realize before they get into the field? And I'm going to start with Sandy on this one.
All right, well, first of all, the amount of money that is involved. Even a small con like mine is still well past five figures. And you have to ask yourself, do I have access to that kind of money? Will I have that amount of money before the con starts? And that's just a start. Then you have to do hotel negotiations, and hotels will try to take advantage of you at every turn, try to get you into a bad contract where, you misstep and then you owe them a lot of money. Those are just the baseline things. And there's a million tiny little things that are going to cost you money that you need a 3 times more people than you already have on staff. There's all sorts of little nuanced thing that John Q. Pony fan just attending a convention has no idea about what goes into it in the actual execution of the event. It's like I as the con chair, year 1 wore many hats, like you said, and was able to delegate most of that in year 2. But just the sheer amount of different departments and working bits that go into running a con, you'll be overwhelmed if you don't come into the game expecting it.
Financially, there are so many things that people really kind of forget about or don't even think about when they're setting out to run these events. There are a lot of what I like to jokingly call hidden fees that comes to event running. Things like that you wouldn't think about, like things like electricity. At least for BronyCon, having to pay for union fees, having to pay for internet fees, catering fees, paying for needing to pay for security. That's one that we have to do that thankfully not anyone else has to do. We have to pay for additional on-site security as well. Stuff like that. There's lots of little things that when you think to yourself, I'm going to throw a pony convention, you don't necessarily think about. The big one that I get a lot, I don't know about you guys, is people ask me how much money I make running these things, and people don't seem to understand off the top of their heads that all of this is volunteer work. We don't get paid jack shit, and I'll put in a quarter in the swear jar for that one.
That's okay.
But we don't get paid anything for this stuff. It's all out of the fact that we're drunk when we agree to it, or we're just insane enough that we're going to spend as much time as it takes to put on these events for all of you guys.
And just to remind you guys, that's Josh Dean from BronyCon. That's the biggest pony convention by a factor of 3 to 4 against everyone below, and it just gets worse from there in terms of how much.
He's not getting paid.
I make negative money. I think
if your con has a third as many people, you'll make a third of 0 instead of just making 0.
Let me tell you, I can take that to the bank.
No, the math doesn't quite work out that way. If it's a third of that, you might actually be paying money back in.
And that actually is true. I mean, conventions are, for the most part, a labor of love. And, it's not in the budget to get these, to get this signage. I guess I'll just, all right, bust out the credit card. Here we go.
There's all the little details, too. Yes, signage. That's you don't think of signage. Stanchions. Who thinks about stanchions?
Well, think about this. For registration alone, you have to pay for, the printing, or the physical supplies, the lanyards, the shirt printing, the con book printing, the bags to put everything into, and like Josh mentioned, electricity, net, all this other stuff. I mean, that's just in that department. You got a good 6-7 things you probably didn't think about.
Well, there's one thing that I noticed. Sorry, Karen,
go ahead, Austin.
No, I'm going to give it to you.
Okay. I think something that a lot of people didn't realize, that I didn't realize, is how much time you physically have to devote. It's not like, oh, you know what? I'll just do it tomorrow and I'll go do whatever fun thing I want to do tonight. It's literally, you have your 40-hour-a-week job, and then you have a 60 to 80-hour-a-week job just running a convention. I don't know what the actual time frame is for people that are within, the lower parts of the departments, but running a convention is more than a full-time job. And most of the time, if you don't do it, it doesn't get done because, someone else isn't doing it. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't quite understand. And a lot of con chairs are really bad at delegating. I think everyone here can agree to that.
I don't know anything about that. Nope.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
initially we wear a lot of hats and we get burned out, and then we realize, you know what, can't do this again the next year because it will literally kill me. And you just start, your convention group of 10 to 15 grows to like 45, 50, 100, 180 people who help you put this convention on, because without those people, things just don't get done.
You really
Yep.
need to figure delegation out. That's one of the things that killed me the first year. I practically failed out of my department at school. But
Sorry, Scotty.
if I may, one thing that I thought was notable when I really started getting the convention stuff started up, and on top of all the stuff that's already been mentioned, these lead org positions are kind of sensationalized from the outside, and once you jump into it, I mean, you always hear about, well, some of us on the inside hear about, the chair gets none of the thanks and all of the blame. Like anything that goes wrong, the chair gets blamed, and then everything that goes right goes specifically to the person that made it go well.
Yeah.
But when you get
we all
into
know it goes uphill, right?
yeah, when you get into the upper management of these kind of events, it becomes so much less of the stuff that you'd think you'd be working on, like all the tangible items of the con. It ends up being a lot of just management, people wrangling, talking to corporations, trying to make sure things are running smoothly, and just putting oil in all the little cracks of the con before things start to fail.
Passing messages and taking blame, basically.
Yeah.
And you have to be on all these like stupid podcasts and stuff, pimping your con.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
know,
worst
right?
of it.
I mean,
I know,
who would do
right?
that?
Who are these people?
Hey, at the very least, I'm gonna say this podcast, The Green Room, magnificent.
Well, yeah, I wasn't expecting the caviar and foie gras, but
But hey, the bowl of all red Skittles. I mean, that's great.
That I like to be a
I got
little
one
posh.
with I got one with no red Skittles.
Well, I mean, where do you think they put all of the rest of the skills that weren't red? They had to give it to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
So, guys, it looks like my co-host is back. She had to run for a moment, so I'm going to pass the mic back to her. Emily, I don't think you missed many questions. I just did. I was going to do number 5, but why don't you do number 5? Yeah, why don't you throw that one out?
Yeah, sure. Let's see here. What convention other than your own has given you the most inspiration for your work on your own con?
I'm actually gonna step in and do this one first, and
Sure.
it's totally kind of a cheaty answer, but it's very true. I actually look at every convention, big to small, that I go to, some that I don't, for inspiration. I go to a lot of conventions nowadays, and I don't go for the VAs. I don't go for the panels. I don't go for the vendors. I go to watch how that event operates, because as far as event management goes, that's really what interests me the most. Some of the conventions, especially since a larger convention called MagFest started doing it for BronyCon this past year, I've started doing it for some other conventions, and I go, and after the event happens, I provide feedback to that event. But most importantly, I go to these events to see what the events do that I can possibly try to translate and upscale in terms of size to our event. Everywhere I go, be it pony conventions, be it anime conventions, be it expos like PAX or Comic Cons, in order to try to up our game and provide a better experience to BronyCon's attendees. Because ultimately, that's really the end game, is to provide the best experience possible to our paying customers.
That's what I did in 2012 when I wanted to put together a convention. I went to as many conventions as I could, and I said, I like what they're doing here. I don't like what they're doing here. We can make this work. We could manipulate this a little, and you kind of Frankenstein together your convention based on what you see from these other conventions that you like or don't like. And but ultimately, I would say you have BronyCon to thank for EQLA returning. So I guess BronyCon at the moment is the biggest inspiration for EQLA.
Oh, shucks. You're making
Oh,
me
shucks.
blush.
Oh.
I mean,
OTP.
really, we all have everybody to learn from each other on these things. Not everything, unfortunately, all the good stuff that every convention does can't be done by every other convention because it doesn't always translate well. There could be, it cannot translate well in terms of staffing ideologies. It could not translate well due to sheer number of size. A good example of that is a convention that just happened, Ponyville Cider Fest. Did a fantastic thing. They had a cider bar for adults in a rotating tower of their event, and I think that's a fantastic thing for both their venue and their size. And I would love to take that for BronyCon, but I can't take that because it works well for their 700-person event, and I can't then upscale it to something along the lines of 10,000 people. It just won't happen.
That would be a lot of cider.
It would.
You'd
I
need
think
a
I could
super
drink
speedy
all
cider
of that.
squeezy 6000.
Yeah, for me, at least here for Nightmare Nights, a lot of my inspiration comes from my previous work. Well, not previous; it's still going on. My own small-scale convention work, but also the conventions in my area, which in my case is A-Con, which is a 26-year-old mega anime convention, and of course I've attended quite a few other cons. Like Josh says, you take what works and discard what doesn't. And see, like, boy, that worked out pretty well. I think I'll steal that idea, borrow it. But, it helps if you attend the conventions in your particular region because that'll give you an idea of what flies in your local convention ecosystem.
This is really true. That's something that I noticed a lot now that I've started attending more cons outside of the Bay Area. So for example, when I first started putting in BabsCon together, I was talking to folks about, I talked to other folks in other cons about, oh, we're going to put on a party floor. And they're like, oh, of course you're going to put on a party floor. I talked to people who had only been to pony cons and they said, what now? But as far as the inspiration is concerned, my first ever con was it's a little sci-fi con called BayCon here in the Bay Area, not surprising given the name. And it's been running for over 30 years. It's pretty cozy size now, about 1,500 people or so. And that, that just inspired me in the sense that this is a con. It had all the markings of a con. It had, it had a cosplay contest and a party floor and a bunch of panels and guests of honor and people signing things and yada, 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 without being giant and overwhelming like a San Diego Comic-Con or a WonderCon or what have you. And I just knew that I had to create something like this. And my next big inspiration was, for negative reasons, was WonderCon, because they started out here in the Bay and then they left. So curse you, Anaheim! So, again, that just fed my sense of great injustice. And then I didn't even go to the June 2012 BronyCon, but it still inspired me because now I've seen so much of it in documentaries and heard firsthand accounts and became friends with the strange woman that ran it. I don't know who that was. Some weirdo. And what I found was, of course, what everyone else has said. You go to other cons to see what you like, what you don't like, what's going to work, what's not going to work, what you totally want to steal, what you want to do something like but not exactly like. And then, of course, you also want to, once you've gotten a sense of sort of a range, my next step is, okay, what hasn't anybody done? What can I do that will be completely insane that will make people go nuts? And I know it's a bit of a gamble because sometimes stuff like that will fall flat, but if you don't take that risk, then then you just have con.
That was the one with the ball pit, right?
No, that was the one for con artists, actually. I think Leakfish was the only one there. Oh,
Hashtag shots fired.
Love you, Leakfish. Don't hurt me.
Yeah,
she's gonna come after you.
We all love Leakfish. She said nervously. No, we all do. Leakfish is great. She does amazing work, and we are honored and incredibly privileged to be able to auction her work and that of A.K. Yearling herself, GM Barrow, who are tag teaming to do our amazing charity auction, still at a high bid of $1,123 to women's rights charity Equality Now. I'm going to keep every pony on their toes. My co-host Emily has a great question lined up, but first I'm going to ask a couple of lightweight, silly questions just to see if every pony out there is still awake. So here's a silly one. Banana. Well, actually, that might answer the question, because the question is, when you're at a convention, what do you eat?
Eat?
Who eats at a convention? Because I don't get the time to.
It's called a con diet.
Well, that depends. Is it a convention we're staffing, or is it a convention we're going as an attendee? Because those are two completely different scenarios.
Yeah, when you're staffing, you're like a breatharian, those people that live on light and air, only that you're not getting light, and the air is pretty bad. So
that's possible during con weekend.
Perhaps there's microbes in the con funk. Who knows?
Well, I'll throw in a serious answer. I usually manage to grab a couple granola bars in my bag wherever I'm walking around, and thankfully our staff lounge is, at least for our convention, is right on the path anywhere I'm going. So I dive in whenever possible. And I actually get less nutrition and food at other conventions because it's hard to walk away.
Yeah, it's true. I actually eat. At some point, someone will say, eat this. They throw it in front of me and they say, sit down, eat it. There is nothing that is important. And I'll make it about halfway through whatever it is, a sandwich or a piece of pizza or a burger or whatever. And then it'll be like, oh, look, someone needs me. And then you have to run off. So I should start doing that granola thing.
You stole my answer. That was my answer. Was people just kept up and telling me, you haven't eaten. Here, have this. Or they would drag me off to staff feed and put a funnel in my throat and stuff something down it.
Usually.
If it's at my con, then I have a box of Builder Bar Max, hiding in our ops office, waiting for both myself and my vice chair in case we need a quick, easy meal that's 300 calories, like 40 grams of protein. And then I also have my head of security buzzing me on our push-to-talk Nextel phones every now and then, asking just to make sure if I have eaten. And then at some point forcing me to go to a restaurant and put food in my mouth. If it's other cons, generally it's just normal eating. I try to behave because I'm in the middle of doing a weight loss regimen, but it doesn't always work, and generally devolves into a diet of tequila if it's BabsCon. Otherwise, gin and tonics and dirty martinis with blue cheese olives.
Okay, that's the classiest answer I've heard for this question. That has to take some sort of award right there.
Although I think I've come up with an idea for next year, and you guys tell me if this is patent worthy. You get one of those camel pack things and load it, just like fill it up with nothing but espresso. There you go.
See, I thought you were going somewhere very different with that, and I was going to completely approve.
Yes, I thought you were going somewhere different too, but I could see how that would work either way.
Maybe we can Irish it up a bit, and there you go. You get your caffeine and your alcohol.
Now you're talking.
See, I could just see con chairs picking up something I saw at a Ren Fair I attended, things called stagger sticks. They're bamboo walking sticks with giant straws. You take the cap off and fill the entire interior with whatever fluid you desire. Yeah, they're called stagger sticks for a reason, kids.
To answer a quick question that I saw popped up in the chat, because somebody was asking about food at BronyCon in terms of restaurants. The restaurants I will go to, I will either go to Kona Grill, which is a block away from the convention center, which is probably the best restaurant ever, especially if you've been walking about 8 to 10 miles a day in that day. Otherwise, the restaurant across the street from the convention center is called Lunar del Sea, which has really killer crab dip.
What is it with Baltimore and crabs? Oh yeah,
well,
they got
it's
some
the primary export. We at Baltimore. Here's what we do in Baltimore. We do Old Bay seasoning. We do crabs. We do burger cookies, which I wish I can like give everybody in this chat a big box of burger cookies.
Burger cookies.
Okay, burger
What is
cookies
that?
are literally they're the best thing
Yeah,
in the
what the
world.
hell?
They are a sugar cookie that they take like a big dollop, and I mean a big dollop of like chocolate cake frosting, and like just slather it on top of it. And it's burger as in BERGER. You need to have these in your mouth. Yes, dirty, but still, you need to have these in your mouth. They are amazing, and they are a Baltimore staple. In fact, I'm going to shoot you guys a link in the chat so you can purchase them up. Emily Bennett, my deputy head of design, just linked it in the Steam Up group. I'm going to link it in the Skype group here for all of you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
please
you.
do.
Before we let Baltimore get away with it too much, one can't help but feel obliged to get in a plug for San Francisco's own Dungeness crabs, which are bloody awesome.
I almost wonder if the Atlantic and Pacific crabs taste different.
They do.
Yes,
I mean,
they do,
they're different oceans with different salt quantities, and plus they're different species of crabs. So.
Yeah, and if you can get yours, in like a nice, like a chowder in a proper San Francisco sourdough bread bowl, well, there you go.
Yeah, that's true. Or if you could get them in a proper Baltimore crab boil with tons of Old Bay seasoning.
I've heard that like religious wars have been started about the difference between Baltimore clam chowder and New England clam chowder and Manhattan clam chowder. Apparently, it's a matter of quite a bit of contention.
People still do something like Manhattan clam chowder?
I didn't know you
Apparently.
could call tomato soup clam chowder, but apparently you guys have figured out how to do it.
Yeah. We're weird here in New York. What can I say? We do weird things like invent brony conventions and put tomato soup and crabs together. Speaking of
one little thing,
Yeah.
because I know there's a few of us that have one, but any of the cons here that have it, give a shout out. In-N-Out, right nearby. Best burger you can get in a drive-thru anywhere.
3 of the conventions here actually have In-N-Out.
I
But
gotta say, I had a
everyone
good time at
knows.
Whataburger when I was down near Sandy's Way.
Oh yeah.
I just had In-N-Out like a week ago. I miss it so much.
Just In-N-Out.
It is better in California than it is in Texas.
I'll totally
This is
concede
true.
to you guys. In-N-Out Burger is easily the best fast food burger I've ever had. Double animal style, fries extra crispy, also animal style with the Neapolitan milkshake. Mwah!
Oh yeah.
Calorie
You just-
bliss.
Oh
Yep,
man,
it's worth all the
I'm-
calories.
I'm
I
now
think I
going
need to
In-N-Out
take a
right after
flight.
this.
I think I need to fly over to California again.
Yeah,
I
I
need to
think
drive
I need to
5
take a
minutes.
White Castle run afterwards. That's the closest we got here in Brooklyn.
Oh, hey, White Castle rocks.
So
BRB going to Five Guys.
I don't think the Five Guys are open though. They don't really cater to the stoner crowd or anyone else who's awake at 1 in the morning. So I got another funny question, and then we're going to get back to the serious business questions. So serious beans.
Surface.
So my next fun question is, what is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you at a convention? And bonus points if you can get all the other panelists to crack up.
See, you asked
Damn,
a
those
question now.
crickets, though.
Bonus points if you can speak up for this question.
Yeah,
Conventions
we're
are
all so
pretty
busy.
serious
Does funny
business.
stuff happen?
That is really kind of the
okay.
thing.
I guess I got one. And this happened at EQLA November 2012. It was the end of a day. I don't remember what it was. We were sitting down at the hotel bar and we were having a drink. I was having, this was 2012, so I was probably on a really big martini kick at the time. So I was having a dirty martini. I think it was a gin martini. And it was myself. It was Final Draft. It was, I want to say, Logan Biscornet, who is the con chair of DrawnCon currently. And it was Iron Pony, the head of PR, who I still believe is the head of PR for EQLA. And then we were sitting there, we're having a great time, everybody's laughing, everybody's having drinks, and then suddenly, power goes out. Huge blackout in the entire Anaheim area.
Oh, no.
That's not actually a funny story.
Hang on, it's getting better. It's getting better, I promise. Iron Pony had, the moment it happened, it was just like that moment when you see somebody in their eyes just like have the biggest freak out ever. Just like you can like you have a videotape of them and you're going frame by frame. You could point out the frame when in their eyes you see something happen. And the look in his eyes, like 0 to 60, he gets up and he makes a mad dash out of the bar. I don't know where he went. I think he went to you, Karen. But he made a literal mad dash. And I don't know why this is funny to me. It was probably because I was drunk at the time, but whatever. I'm drunk now, so it works out. But it was just the way he made that sprint and just the look in his face after like a complete and utter blackout happened that just to this day makes me chuckle.
Yeah, I was in the parking garage when that happened, and it went pitch black, and I was like, this is too horror story for me. So I ran as fast as I could into the building, only to find that it's also black. But that's, I would have paid money to see the expression on his face.
Oh, it was fantastic. I wish I had a picture, but it was too dark.
So what was
I'm trying to think of a funny
your funny
instance.
thing, Karen?
I'm all business. No, I'm just kidding.
It's true. The funny shit used to happen to other people.
Wait, does it have to be at my convention, or can it just be at a convention?
I think the question was at a convention.
Oh, did you guys see the Vine that Tabitha posted in the yellow Camaro from a couple weeks ago?
What happened in it?
So basically, I got a flat tire and I had to rent a car, and they went, hey, we can give you a Camaro for like $40 a day. And I went, let's do it. And because we have this Camaro for shuttling them back and forth and for getting me to the convention that I was working, they decided, we have a ridiculous car, let's do something ridiculous. And so basically it starts off with Ashley Ball using a banana as a gun, and she shoots at the camera, making shooting noises. And then it's Andrea and Tabitha sitting in the car, or I think Andrea's sitting on top of the car, and they're all like bumping to Adele. It was kind of ridiculous. And it was kind of funny just because there was a lot of planning kind of involved in doing that for something that looks so spontaneous. So
Oh, I remember that one.
Okay, that brings one up. And I'm actually going to claim credit for this, but because it was something funny that I arranged for. How many of y'all remember the big cosplay surprise at Canterlot Gardens 2012? Out comes Tara Strong dressed as Twilight Sparkle.
Oh, yeah.
So
I actually knew about that one beforehand somehow.
In typical fashion for me, I said, how can I one-up that? And unbeknownst to any of my staff, any of the other guests, a few of my staff and one or two other confidants knew, we were brewing up the Alicorn Princess Big Mac moment. And the look, oh my God, the look. I was actually moderating that panel, and I looked down the table. The looks on all of their faces, but particularly Tara's, was just hilarious.
Yeah, it was really hard for me to keep that from Tara, but I somehow managed to keep it out of her knowledge until the convention, and it was totally worth it.
Oh, it was so worth it. And seriously, I had some of my VIP liaisons saying, "Why didn't you tell us about this beforehand?" We were all like, "Where the hell's Peter?"
Oh yeah, because you swore me to secrecy and I didn't tell them anything.
Yep.
That's right. So they're like, "Where's Peter? Where's Peter?" And I'm giving them shit. I'm like, "Where's Peter?" And they have no clue.
Yeah, but then of course, between Tara and Nicole, we get one of the most hilarious sort of impromptu responses to that, which was, Tara just pastes this big old honkin' kiss on Peter the second he gets up on stage, and so I'm like, oh well, Princess Twilight approves. I say into the mic, what does Princess Celestia think? And Nicole just deadpans. Princess Celestia is speechless. It was perfect. The other big funny thing, which didn't actually happen to me, but which made me want to hide, was when one of my VIP liaison drivers came back to me with a picture of them putting Andy Price into the trunk.
Oh.
I think I saw that. Guys, we've got one of our conorgs has to jet, Bajati from Everfree Northwest. So, Bajati, any last things you want to say on the air? Any last plugs? Burma Shave ads?
Well, I do want to. I apologize that I have to bounce. This weekend's been absolutely horrendous, and I'm waking up at 3 a.m. to walk 2 hours to a bus. It's going to be fantastic.
Ooh, sounds like fun on a bun.
But thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. It was really fun. I wish I could be for the second half or however long you're going tonight. But, I mean, the only real appropriate plug for me is check out Everfree Northwest. We have, I believe, fantastic con in the works this year, and it will be at the end of May, I believe 29th through 31st.
Coming back for what, the fourth time?
Fourth consecutive year.
Fourth consecutive year?
I am definitely excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too, and hope to be out in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, and on top of that, I'm excited for everyone's conventions because I try to make as many as I possibly can. Sometimes it's not feasible, but I like to fly.
He goes to all of them. Almost all of them.
You're flying hijinks, Pajati. I swear to God. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, it's fun to follow me on Twitter. I love sleeping in airports, apparently. I don't know.
That's one of my...
It's a thing.
It's one of my ambitions for 2015, make as many cons as possible.
You guys all take care, chat. I hope you have a great evening as well. And come on, keep on bidding. Get that number higher.
Yes, we just got a bid for $1,200, and that was Bajati of Everfree Northwest going into their fourth consecutive season. So check them out, everfreenw.com. And I think it is now the turn of my co-chair, Emily, who is going to be asking some questions, going back into the more serious beans department, tying into some of the stuff we talked about earlier. Emily, it's your turn.
All right. So, guys, is there anything outside of the con organization world that you looked into for inspiration?
Yes, technically, but my answer I feel is cheating. We'll see. We'll let the judges decide.
You give all the cheat answers, man.
So, as I mentioned in my quote unquote origin story, I'm a web developer by trade. To be more specific, I'm a JavaScript developer by trade. JavaScript has many conferences between JSConf, JQConf, and GConf. And so on and all. And these kinds of conferences are very large scale in terms of how they operate, but they operate under kind of a different guise. These kind of events are a single badge sometimes costs you somewhere upwards of $1,000. So I actually look to these events in terms of how they operate, both in terms of how registration processes work, but also in terms of how badging processes and scheduling processes work. In fact, BronyCon currently uses Eventbrite for its registration process, and it owes that to JSConf, which is the most prominent JavaScript conference in the world, because they use Eventbrite and they sell out in seconds. Literally, I believe last year they sold out in 30 seconds or less. And I ended up looking at that and imploring BronyCon to move to Eventbrite for its registration staff, for its registration system, because of the fact that it's able to take that kind of workload. Is that a valid answer? I mean, it's a conference, which is
I'd say that's a valid answer, Emily.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think that's good. We're good. All clear. Who wants to
I have, as far as how to run the convention, because, running event planning, event directing is not something that I actually knew how to do. I know how to manage logistics in a military setting, because I worked with the Marine Corps for a while in their logistics department, and now I work for all of the military services in their logistics departments. But basically, I kind of approached it in that format, which I know is pretty stringent and pretty, utilitarian, so to speak, in the sense that it's like, you get A, B, C, and once you have A, B, C, then you can work on DEF, but you cannot work on DEF until you have ABC. And while it was kind of like a machine moving along, I think we ended up being probably the least stressed staff that I have seen in a while, because we sweat all the small details that we may not have needed to sweat. So, when it all came down to pushing and shoving at the convention itself, we were just like, it's a train, it's going in the direction it's going, and there's nothing we can do, so let's just put Band-Aids on everything to fix the problem. And then uniquely, I hired people who did what they do as for their living for what they do for the con. So if they're doing AV work, they do AV work for a living. If they're doing hotel liaison stuff, they actually have experience doing hotel liaison stuff. And that might be a little bit unique to EQLA, because I know that a lot of the times it's, I really want to do this and I think I could be good, and then you get the position, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Actually, I agree with Karen on that. I also try to get people into those positions that either work on it or at least have like ages of con experience doing it, because I was trying to compensate for my own entire lack of experience there. That said, even that is no guarantee. I am not going to name names, but our hotel liaison last year, first off, works in hotel events as a career, was highly recommended, had done it for several years for another local con, and to call the job that was done abysmal doesn't even do it justice. This person was not on site during con, and for the first day and a half, myself, my vice chair, and my head of business were scrambling around between two hotels fixing so many fires, it's not even funny. Of course, this also is what happens when first year con and you don't know what you're doing. You think that, hey, somebody comes in with a great resume, they're going to do a great job. Well, not always. Not always.
Yeah, I had a boss who thought like that. It doesn't always work that way.
Although, interesting story, one of the reasons I thought I could do it, and to sort of tie it back to the question a little bit, is that I had a couple of other ventures in the past that did at least sort of skirt around similar areas, which was one in 2006. I started a small social networking website because this was like a long time ago. Everyone was this was a bunch of us who were on Tribe.net, and if anyone remembers Tribe.net, howdy, good to meet you again. We tried to do. I basically did exactly what I did for the con, which was tap the people I thought were going to be able to help and put them into a steering committee, and we did it. We created one for a few years that got up to a few thousand users, and then proceeded to destroy itself in a never-ending flame wars. But we made it happen, which was the important thing. And then a bit earlier than that, I used to throw and promote dungeon parties. Yes, I did, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Interesting. So, moving right along. I believe that Emily had another question for the group.
I do. This one's a little more fun, kind of. If you could go back in time to tell your 12-year-old self that you'd be running a convention for adults who like My Little Pony, what would your 12-year-old self tell you?
What my 12-year-old self would tell me would not be appropriate for this stream.
Oh. All right.
Anybody else want to field this one? I'd love to hear some of the other people answer.
Yeah, my 12-year-old self would be freaking out because I have liked My Little Pony since the 80s. And, well, she might be like, what the heck, adults like it? But she would definitely be like, oh my gosh, you'd be working on something that you've loved forever. So it would be all positive.
My response would be the exact opposite, because I was not a fan of the original 80s stuff from My Little Pony. And so if I came to my 12-year-old self and said, hi, I'm throwing a con for adult fans of My Little Pony, I would probably my young self would grab me by the lapels and say, why would you do that? Why? You are betraying me in the future. I will try to not become you. That's what I think. That's what I think she would say.
So anybody who knows me will not be surprised when I say the following sentence. But I have a gift for this. I'm going to link it in the Skype chat, and if you can somehow put it in front of your XSplit, that would be fantastic. But this would be the gift.
Okay, I actually can copy paste that at a minimum and I'm going to try to put it into the stream. For those of you following along in the chat room, here's the GIF. Oh, yes, this GIF. It's Bender saying,
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
yeah. And, by the way, we just have another bid, by the way. We are up to Elite Dollars. Wait, I'm sorry. I speak Elite speak. So we are up to $1,337. I think that's how you say it in English, which shatters all of our previous bid records. Thank you, everyone who has bid so far, and keep it coming. This is amazing. We've got Elite Dollars. We are going to get more Elite from here on in. Was there anyone else who wanted to talk about what they would say to their 12-year-old self about their future as a con org for people who like Tiny Horse?
Sandy?
Yeah,
Come
we're
on,
all kind of
Jade.
looking at you, Sandy.
Well, when I was 12, I attended my first actual convention at 14, I believe. That was a con a very long time ago. So it would have blown my mind. Then I would have wondered, it's like, well, why don't you tell me something useful like some lotto numbers?
Gray's
tips.
Sports Almanac.
Yeah, why not? Come on.
Hello, McFly.
Come on, future self. Step it up.
And with that, we've just been bid up to $1,500. A stunning amount and worth every penny. You're going to have your own prompt written about by the official author of the My Little Pony books. However, I'm obliged to say it is not going to be considered canon. I guess you could consider it sort of apocryphal.
Wait, how much? I'm sorry, PT. What'd you say how much it was currently?
1,500. 1500.
1505.
Are you actually bidding though?
Yes.
Okay then.
Oh, wow.
Well, you got to log into DeviantArt though to make your post.
Oh.
Okay, you know what? Audio evidence is good enough. I will put in a bid on your behalf. Josh Dean bids 1505. I almost put an extra digit in there. Oops.
Okay, so somebody in the chat is saying in all caps increments of 10, to which I'm going to say, you're technically right, except there's a person who did 1337. So, whatever.
Well, increments of at least 10, but whatever. Close enough.
Exactly.
I like where this conversation is going, and the more money that goes to charity, the better.
I've got something now. I don't currently have myself in a financial situation to win this auction, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Whoever does win this auction, in addition to getting the fancy prizes mentioned above, I will give a Canterlot Pony level membership to BabsCon. Yes, I will.
Did you hear that, guys? The ante has now been upped. Whoever wins this auction will get a Canterlot Pony level membership to BabsCon, one of the two biggest cons in the country. This is a serious... How much do those usually go for?
$150.
Very nice. Winner also gets a Canterlot Pony level membership to BabsCon, going right on the website right now. So that's an additional piece that goes in the bundle of goods you get if you win this charity auction. That is amazing, guys. So let's see, who is going to go next with the questions? Oh, right, me. So, all right, I'm going to do 7 and 8, Emily. So first off, I wanted to ask the con orgs assembled here, how long does it take you after a con, on average, to get back into your regular routine? If, any of us have ever had regular routines, how long does it take you to decompress after an active con? Anyone want to take this one first?
Now, do you mean a convention you're running, or just any convention?
I was thinking specifically of one that you actually are running, yes. Not just, I went to New York Comic Con to buy some ponies.
2.5 weeks, at least, because you're still tying up loose ends for a good solid 2 weeks. And then you need to kind of come off of all that for a few more days. So 2.5 weeks.
I would agree with that, yeah. It took me a good 2-3 weeks to really get it out of my system, and then of course you immediately go, all right, well, that's 2014, time to start planning 2015.
I'd say it takes me about a week once the actual final wrap-up is done, like the final bills are paid after the convention and those last-minute things after the convention, so...
I would say it took me a good solid month because, yeah, there were a couple weeks of tying up the loose ends, and then I had to take another couple weeks to recover from tying up the loose ends.
You had the double whammy of not only being a big con, but being a first-year con, so that's kind of understandable.
And an unexpectedly big con at that.
Yes, it just sort of... I think, have we heard from everyone?
Nope.
We missed the big kahuna. How long does it take you to decompress from BronyCon?
Wow. You want to know what the honest to God answer is?
Sure.
There ain't no brakes on this train, baby. BronyCon's going 365.
And there you have it. That's the secret to BronyCon's continual success, is it never stops and the ride truly never ends.
Mr.
And
Bones
for the record,
won't
that
let
was
you
actually
off the ride.
I think for the record, that was actually Josh Dean banging Nikita Khrushchev's shoe right on the podium. He actually acquired Khrushchev's shoe just for that.
Yeah.
And now people know how old I am, so there you go.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm probably, maybe one of two people in this group who'd catch that reference. And I had a follow-up question, which sort of relates to timing and workflow and what happens around the time a convention is held. Around how many hours a week do you think you spend doing con work in, say, the last month before a convention? Not, 6 months before, 8 months before, but the month before the con, the critical last few weeks. How many hours a week do you think you put in? Yeah, the crunch time. How much crunching gets going?
Let's see, how many hours in a month?
Yeah, I'm actually doing that math myself.
Yeah. Are there 28 hours in a day? Because that would help.
It really would. I'd like that.
There are if you live on Bajor.
Well, that's true. The honest truth actually is that the last month, it's basically an on-call situation. If you're not working the whole time, you're getting called to work. So I know that I'm in the last month, I'm usually doing con work while I'm at work. So
yeah, what she said.
Yeah.
I'm sure the bosses don't like that, but it happens anyway.
Yeah, it's almost universal.
Yeah, it's basically just if I'm not sleeping, I'm doing con work, is really what that comes down to.
And if I am sleeping, I'm dreaming of con work.
Yes.
Con dreams are a thing, and I'm gonna echo what everyone else has said. In the crunch time, there is no point where you're not thinking or doing something about the convention. Because if I had the phone records and broke out exactly how many times Bob and I called each other on the phone to discuss something or another, I was on the phone with somebody else, it would be a sickening amount of time.
Have you guys had the thing where you wake up in the dead middle of the night panicking because you think you have forgotten to do something?
Oh, God, yes.
How many nights?
So often.
Many nights.
So often.
It's like, oh no, did I get the reservation in for that thing?
I think the worst part is when you actually dream about having forgotten something important. It's kind of like the con.org version of the dream where you're naked in school, or where you haven't gone to class all semester and all of a sudden there's a calc test.
Yeah.
Only in this case, they don't have the space for you on load-in day.
Uh-huh.
Your entire staff doesn't show up and you have to do everything.
On your own.
I kind of feel like the odd man out here, which is probably really, really beneficial to me. But my last month is actually, honestly, no different than the other 11 months. I have a really good staff that I'm able to rely on, and that are my pillars, my 9 pillars of BronyCon, that are able to do their department's work with such amazing competency that it actually brings a tear to my freaking eye. Now that said, my security staff have this thing called ghost chatter, where in the middle of the night they hear radio chatter that doesn't exist. Myself, I have con chatter every night. it's really weird. Every night I have a BronyCon dream. Something. It could be something small. It could be something big. But every night I have some dream about BronyCon that is happening the next year, and I can't make it go away. And it's probably good that I can't make it go away, because it keeps me on the balls of my feet the entire year. But every night, it's just like there's at least one dream that I can always remember, not the specifics of, but it's always something that happened at BronyCon. Actually, one of the dreams I could tell you with clarity. I had a dream about BronyCon where, for whatever reason, the Baltimore Convention Center bailed on us. I don't remember why, but they bailed on us. And for whatever reason, we had to have the convention at my elementary school.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
I'll have you know. I'll have you know.
I'm writing my fan fiction of this right now.
We had BronyCon in Bayview, Milwaukee, Wisconsin at Dover Street Elementary School. I'll have you know, it was a fantastic convention. It was really weird because we had our main events hall in the gymnasium, but we made it work for whatever reason. But it's like that level of weird dream that I have a couple of times every year. To answer Lab Layer's question in chat, I've not had Justin Bieber showing up to BronyCon. I've had Barack Obama showing up to BronyCon. I've had Joe Rogan showing up to BronyCon, but I've not had Justin Bieber showing up to BronyCon.
That's probably a good thing.
I mean, hey, no, if Justin Bieber wants to come to BronyCon, by all means, my security team will pitch a fit because of all the implications of it. But Justin Bieber is more than welcome to come to BronyCon.
You heard it here first, guys, and that's going to be a meme by tomorrow.
BieberCon. Actually, I wanna steal Josh's idea of being so nice and brown-nosing my staff to the point where they won't draw out long knives and kill me in the night. So I'm going to do that. You guys rock so much that my last month before con is totally stress-free.
Aww.
And if you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you.
Well, I've got a bridge not too far from here. It's in pretty good condition. It's just being repaired, and when it's done being repaired, I'll sell it to you for, say, what are we up to now? No, I'm just kidding. We are up to $1,550 going to Equality Now. They're a truly amazing sum of money for a truly amazing work of art, and this is just inspirational.
Tinker?
Yeah.
I feel like I should, because BabsCon did as well, and they beat me to the punch. Damn you, Sonia. I will get you a dinner when I am in California in 2 weeks. But I will go ahead and I will also put forward a BronyCon bronze level badge to the person who does it. Now, what comes with the bronze level badge that doesn't come with the normal 3-day badge is the following. You get the 2015 limited edition poster. You get a thank you on our website. You get an official convention sponsor poster. You get the special sponsor edition badge and ribbon that we're going to be doing this year. You get our limited edition t-shirt that we're only offering to people with 3-day plus on up. You get our priority pickup. I mean, BronyCon's registration at this point is like X-Lax going through a bowl. So that's really, so that's not much. But you also get priority queue for BronyPalooza in the marketplace. And while it doesn't say it yet, we're currently in the process of figuring out whether or not that will also get you priority queue to the main events hall and a bunch of other stuff that you can see at bronycon.org/registration. I don't want to detract too much from it, but you will get a bronze level sponsorship, which currently you can normally get for $250.
So you heard that here first, guys. If you are the high bidder on our charity auction tonight, not only do you get the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have your pony idea written about by the official pony author and drawn about by the official pony artist for so many conventions, Leakfish, but you also get VIP admission to the 2 biggest brony conventions in the world, bar none, BronyCon and BabsCon, and you get both. So if you have enough money to bid, high bid on this auction, you probably are going to the cons anyways, and guess what? Now you get in as a VIP because you deserve it.
Wow, that is so cool. And by the way, if this doesn't go for more than $2,000, I am going to be deeply disappointed in the whole fandom. I mean, really.
Oh, you hear that, guys?
Oh, you shouldn't be disappointed. Charity is charity.
Well, this is true, but charity needs more. And, come on, 2 passes to 2 incredible pony cons, GM Barrow writing your story idea, and getting it drawn by Leakfish. If that's not worth $2,000, I don't know what is. So, come on. $2,000.
Yep. Leakfish also said, I want to see 2K, bring it nerds. So the challenge has now officially been issued. Bring it, nerds. What was that line from Ashens? Something about cheese bags?
Oh,
Stay fresh, cheese bags. And with that, we are going to go to the next question. I think it's now Emily's turn. Emily, why don't you have a chance on the mic? Pull another question from the magic hat.
All right, let's see what we got here. Do you guys have any horror stories that you're willing to share?
Uh-oh.
Of course.
Gee, I already
And if they won't, I'm more than willing to.
So before we actually get into this, we need to actually kind of sort of MPAA rate the level of horror story we're allowed to tell here. Because I have G-level horror stories, and then I have R-level horror stories. So someone needs to make the definition right here real quick.
Let's say high PG, low PG-13. Does that sound about right? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that's about where mine sit anyway.
Someone needs to dive in. Do it. Come on.
Don't go first.
All right. I'll go first because it'll be topped, I'm sure. Okay, so let's see. First year EQLA 2012. We had an incident where an attendee decided to jump the last several steps on an escalator, breaking the escalator right in front of the venue staff, which doesn't sound like a horror story, except we had to pay for that to be repaired. So that was pretty bad. But the big horror story is what Josh found to be the funniest part of EQLA 2013,
Look,
where...
part of EQLA. It was just at the moment it was pretty amusing.
Well, you found it funny, and I said it's not a funny story, and the reason why is because that blackout happened because there were copper thieves stealing live copper wire, and it actually did cause one of them to die and the other one to get sent to the hospital.
No.
So yeah, that's
my God.
That's the horror story.
To quote Bo Burnham, ha ha ha, classic comedy. No one?
That's a good one.
No one? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Sonia got it. Okay, who goes next? Who has a horror story that you can tell within the constraints of a PG to PG-13 rated format?
I'm going to go last on this one, so go ahead.
I've got one. This is brand new as of last week.
Well, you just had your con.
Yeah. So this year's Drawn Con. It's the end of the con. My administration team is sitting in the ops office. We're alone. We're talking about the payments and everything that needs to go through. We take a look at the PayPal balance and we try to log in. And there's a notice that pops up that says you need to verify your account. Verification will take 7 to 10 business days. We need to pay the agent about $6,000 in about an hour and a half.
That's nightmare material right there.
That ended with all 4 of us pulling our wallets out of our back pockets and trying to look through and see what we could personally put in to front that while we waited for everything to get fixed.
That's a good one.
That is an answer to a question from earlier, actually, because that happened to us too. We had $50,000 tied up in PayPal that couldn't be released. So, word to the wise, if you're going to run a convention, make sure you verify your PayPal account.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you can find a creative way to avoid PayPal, just do that.
What I
Actually,
was, I'll say this and I'll give it back to Sonia. What I was doing in the early days with BronyCon is I never trusted PayPal. I would siphon the money out in the form of postal money orders and then deposit them in my bank every day because I did not want a standing balance of any significance in PayPal because they do stuff like this. Sonia, you were going to say something?
yeah, PayPal almost killed us before we got started for a very similar reason. We found ourselves, we had just run our initial raise money thing, and we had about 10K sitting in PayPal, and we had to pay 5,000 to get our venue contract done. And the PayPal was insisting on one of the documents to verify our account being a signed venue contract.
Oh, geez.
Thankfully, the hotel was very understanding and gave us an extra week after signing because they totally got it. But as a result of that, that's my PayPal horror story. As a result of that, we still use it, but every time our PayPal gets over $1,000, we transfer it directly into the company account.
Yep.
But my horror story is much worse than that. So I'll wait for everyone else to do theirs because I think mine's probably going to be the best one. Well, the most horrifying one.
Okay, this is going to be good. Who haven't we got? We got Jade. We got Karen. Josh, did you go? Josh?
No, I didn't go. So I don't have. I'm gonna turn this R-rated story into a PG-related story because I really don't have a lot of good horror stories that I can actually legally tell. So
that's kind of concerning.
So let me tell you, gather around, children, take a knee, as I tell you the story about how a certain VIP learned about one of the less than savory sides of the fandom.
You're not about to do what I think you're about to do, are you?
I am about to do that in a PG, as much of a PG related way that I can.
PG related, I like that one.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I said PG related. I like that phrase. I'm going to keep that for next show.
I want to try to make it PG because we're trying to be PG, but technically this is an R thing.
Yeah. All right, so what's your story?
Okay, so for everybody in the audience, when I say a less than savory side of the fandom, I'm going to wink, and you're all going to know what I'm talking about.
I think it might have something to do with the sound a horse's hoof makes.
Exactly. So I was at not Nightmare Nights Dallas. I was at Midwestria, completely different part of the country, completely different year. I was at Midwestria's first and only convention in 2012. And I was getting out of one of the writers' panels and getting ready to hop onto the elevator with one of these people that happened to be at said panel. During that time, there was another panel going on that was a adult plus panel that had to deal with a wink less than savory side of the fandom. Now, the person in question looked to their handler and asked, "What is that?" Wink. And I watched a bead of sweat fall down the brow of this handler, not necessarily sure what to do, because you don't want to lie to a VIP and you don't want to not give them an answer. So they gave that person the answer to what was going on in that panel and exactly what wink that less than savory side of the fandom was. And let me tell you, you never quite forget what it looks like when the light in somebody's eyes leave them.
It sounds like you're describing the death of one of the VIPs here.
I think he is.
Their innocence was lost.
You never quite forget when the light leaves their eyes for the first time.
Yeah, that innocence will never be regained.
And they looked at their handler, and if I remember correctly, what they told them was somewhere along the lines of, "Why? Why would you take something so innocent and turn it into that?" And just the handler, just like defeated, like they didn't have a choice. It was like, well, you asked, and they told them, and it's just like it's a horror story, but at the same time, it's one of those con war stories that are perfect for telling other convention organizers, um, as they happen over a couple of drinks. And it was just like, I will never forget the time when this person learned about Klopp. I didn't say anything there.
No, you were just talking about, horses.
Yep. Are
And
we all talking about horses?
that was like the closest I can come to a nightmare. And let me tell you, it was hilarious, but freak out worthy at the same time.
That's also a good one.
I think, Sandy, did you give yours yet?
I haven't, but I'm kind of also drawing a blank when it comes to, quote, real horror stories like that. I mean, I've just kind of drawn a blank, honestly. My attendees are generally very well behaved. Anything that is...
Yes, Sandy, your con didn't have that much in the way of drama or strange things happening. I mean, besides the whole Rarity singing the wedding song thing, that was kind of unusual, although it was very much appreciated as well.
That was also
Jeez, Sandy, what were you doing wrong? I mean, goodness.
No, it's
horror?
true. It's true. The Dallas Bronies are great, and Nightmare Night staff never has those kinds of issues.
It was a pretty chill event.
It was an awesome con. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, so Sonia, we're not putting off the inevitable any longer. You have your supposed trump card up your sleeve. What is your horror story?
Okay, well, let's build it up, okay? I already have mentioned PayPal nearly killing us. I've already mentioned a hotel liaison not showing up and basically messing up his job in the worst possible way. I've talked about a number of horror stories already, and I was afraid I had kind of
run out of useful stories,
as it were, but no. This wins. We're there to pick up our first guest of honor. First one. So I go as well. And said guest of honor arrives, and the driver shows up, and we're at the airport. It was me, and who else was there? Karen, you weren't there, I don't think, were you?
I was not there. I don't think I was in San Francisco at that time.
Okay, so we are taking the guest of honor to the car, and the guest draws me aside and says, "Sonia, can I talk to you for a minute?" I'm like, oh okay, sure, no problem. She pulls me aside and says a sentence to me that damn near stopped my heart from beating. She says, that guy that you got driving the car, he's been stalking me. I met him at a certain event. I don't want to say which because I don't want to tip my hand on which guest this was. But and the funny thing was, this guy seemed fine. I mean, he seemed very well qualified for the job. He had a very calm demeanor. But the more we learned about him, the more it became obvious that he was a horrible person, and we pulled him in immediately, took away his badge, ejected him from the premises, and made it clear that he would no longer be welcome at anything to do with our convention ever again. But that actually happened, and we took care of it. But oh my goodness, I was so frightened. And thankfully, this guest was very, very sweet about it. So, everyone ended up having a good time, but that is so not happening again. Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, that's pretty much like A-list con nightmares right there. You know, it happens.
Well, I mean that's why a lot of better known guests of honor at various cons in various genres have in their contracts that they will not stay at the venue hotel, because goodness knows they actually might have a stalker. So.
Yeah, and you know, generally you'll see the VIPs stay at a different hotel, and sometimes some of the VIPs will even stay at a different hotel than the other VIPs. It's just, you know, these things happen. And you got to remember that for all these people who love these VIPs to death, well, some of them, you know, literally love them to death, and that's not a good thing. So,
well, thankfully, not
careful.
literally.
Yeah,
well, they didn't
exactly.
quite get to that, but. And this is why we are vetting people much more carefully in VIPR this year.
It's almost impossible to be too careful when you start dealing with the A-listers. It's tricky. It's tricky. Okay, so all right, everyone's gone now.
Oh, and then of course there's the other horror story of having to remove a certain prominent brony from our con, which was inevitably drama filled.
We all know about that. Yeah. So moving right along. Let's see. Is it my turn or yours, Emily?
I think it's your turn, actually.
Right. I think I had actually earmarked a question, too. Yes, number 17. This is a nice positive thing heading into the last, I want to say 10 minutes of the show. Remember, we've got only 6 minutes left in the bidding, guys. The current high bid is $1,550. That's $1,550. And if you can outbid that, you will not only win the Leakfish and GM Barrow Art Prize, you will also win special VIP admission to both BabsCon and BronyCon. Specifically, you will get the Canterlot Pony membership to BabsCon and the bronze level badge to BronyCon. So keep your bids coming. You've got 6 minutes left.
Hey, Tank.
Yeah.
I wanna keep this going, and it's not because I'm necessarily just feeling a good buzz here, but like we got a lot of good stuff going on here. There's a lot of questions we've not asked. There's a lot of answers we've not quite had yet. But I want to know if I could possibly convince you to go longer until we finish the questions, if I sweeten the pot a little bit.
I like where this is going. Do continue.
So, I have in front of me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 characters that will help sweeten the pot of this charity drive. And those 6 characters come in the form of a promo code for BronyCon registration.
Ooh.
It's nothing huge. I mean, it's something huge. But it's a $5 discount for BronyCon's registration. But those $5 multiplied by 2 will go towards the final amount donated in this charity.
So you're saying that they get $10 off?
No, they get. You know what? They get $10 off. They get $10 off their BronyCon registration, and those $10 will go towards the charity that we are currently funding right now. But I'm going to make it even better here. It's not going to expire at the end of this podcast. It's going to expire on December 1st.
Wow.
And it's only going to be for you guys in this stream. If you tell your friends about it, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm gonna ask Tinker here to keep it in the family, as it were, just to the people who are watching the stream. That code is going to be
code redacted.
That is
code redacted.
And if you register for BronyCon, from here on out, between now and December 1st, you're going to get $10 off. And those $10 that you are saving is going to go towards the final total for this charity drive that we are doing right now.
That's amazing.
But that'll only happen if we keep going and we finish the rest of these amazing questions that you and Emily had put together for us.
That, good sir, is a deal. You have a deal. And
So,
I said it in
to
the chat, and
clarify-
I'm going to bleep it out in the audio so nobody who is not here live will hear.
So to clarify, what you're saying is everyone who pre-registers to BronyCon using that code, the money that they save from the badge they buy goes to the charity that we are raising money for tonight.
Bingo! You got
All
it.
right.
Incredible,
That's
guys. This is an awesome fundraising charity idea that came from the mind of my successor, Josh Dean. And because of that, we are going to continue on this train of ponies until all the questions have been expired, because this is awesome.
Now,
And it was translated from drunk to sober by
Yes,
Karen Padilla, folks. Glittering
yeah.
Pony herself.
See, she speaks several languages.
yeah. Now, just to be absolutely clear, this will go on until December 1st. That is 1ST, first.
Okay, guys, if you are hearing this here in the chat room, the code expires the first day of December. It's now November 23rd, so that you got a week and change.
Do it. It's my birthday.
All right, awesome sauce.
Now,
Okay, then.
Now, to celebrate, I need to step into our green room here real quick, and I need to get another tonic for this nice bottle of gin you provided.
Mix in some of those Skittles. All right, then.
I'll go to Sonia's room, and I'll steal some of her red Skittles.
There we go. All right,
Hey.
so Emily, I think it's your turn then. Why don't you pick one out of the question bag and give it an ask?
All right, I think I'm going to pick a simple one that I like, and I'm just curious. Who is Best Pony and why?
Twilight Sparkle is Best Pony because she's all studious and was a little nerdy, and she learned how to become a leader and a wonderful, wonderful mare.
I approve of this answer.
Yeah, very good.
Rarity. And I think that's a good enough answer, don't you? I mean, it's
That is
rarity.
definitely a rarity answer.
Oh, hey, does the bidding continue, by the by? As long as we're streaming?
Yes, not only does the bidding continue, I'm now modifying the DeviantArt post to say that the bidding is extended and bidding ends when the stream ends and no later. So tune in and bid up.
For me, I would reply rarity as well, but for actual reasons. She's a successful business pony. She takes good care of her family, and is a pretty cartoon horse.
A fabulous
Because-
drama queen.
Yes, you can always count on rarity to liven things up. Also, I probably sound really terrible. I'm I'm becoming more sick as we go.
Dude, you have like I said in the Skype chat, you have the voice for like the smooth, like to be a DJ for like the smooth jazz radio station.
Smooth jazz will be deployed in 3, 2, 1.
Like
totally hearing it.
you're not quite in for me, you're not quite Josh Groban, but man, dude, you are still butter to the ears.
Oh, yeah, I expect that station to be called something like The Quiet Storm or something.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely got that awesome radio voice. Who has not given their best pony? Jade, I don't think you gave your best pony yet.
This is always a tough one. If it's the main six, it's definitely Applejack, because of how hardworking she is. Plus, I grew up on a farm too. But if it's not just the main six, the great and powerful Trixie demands that you acknowledge her as best pony.
That is an unconventional answer. Oh, see what I did there? Unconventional?
Funny, because it's a fantastic webcomic.
About people who make conventions, oddly enough.
I guess I think I'm the only one who hasn't given a best answer, or a best pony answer yet. Currently, Bombay Sapphire is best pony.
Somebody needs to make that pony. Make it happen now, people.
Yeah, if somebody wants to make a Bombay Sapphire pony for me right about now, I will totally give you a hug and maybe some Dunkin' Donuts. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But
Cutie Mark is a martini glass with an olive in it.
All right, it has been said. Make it so, artists.
But in terms of main six, I've always kind of flip-flopped between Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie. Rainbow Dash because the competitive nature has really continued to inspire me in my weight loss journey that I've been doing for the better part of 4 years now. And Pinkie Pie because of I like to throw a very large party. It just so happens it's a 10,000 person party. I like to throw a party, and I like to at the end of that party, everybody be happy and feel warm. And I like to see all of those people. Here comes the cheesy moment. Smile.
Aww. Actually, I do have a good answer for Rarity, and it is that just because you're kind and you're generous doesn't mean that you're a pushover. And I find sometimes people mistaken kindness for weakness because I am nice to a lot of people. And that's why she resonates well.
Yeah, you couldn't see it, but I was actually nodding my head while you were giving that answer. I think that's one of the big lessons of the character of Rarity is, don't assume things about people who seem polite or nice or feminine or withdrawn or in any way like they're not someone who's capable or competent or powerful or able to hold their own, because Rarity can hold her own as much as any of the others of the main six.
You ever notice when action is going down on the show, Rarity is the first to be wading in there with some serious pony foo?
It's true. It's really true. Okay, so I think every pony has done a best pony, right? Okay, we've done best pony.
None of you said Fluttershy, therefore I am sad.
Well, you just
you
did,
could say
so
Fluttershy.
There we go. And, well, of course, I'd say Twilight Sparkle or Purple Smart because, well, she's purple and, well, she's smart. And those are good things.
Listen, all the other ponies are dumb. I mean, geez.
True story. Tara Strong's favorite color is also purple. She wore this amazing purple. I almost said black dress, purple dress. That would have ruined the whole analogy. Amazing purple dress that she wore to BronyCon Summer 2012. And I was like, "You like purple?" She's like, "Yeah, it's my favorite color." I'm like, "Funnily enough, it's mine too." So let's see. Let's move to a couple of questions, and these kind of overlap with some of the stuff we talked about earlier, but not quite. And I know that there's a.
Can I dive in for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the light, and I want to throw something else in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
If, and this is a challenge, if that bid gets over $2,000, then the winner will get from me out of my personal pocket the sumptuous Sunday brunch that our venue puts on every year. I will buy you your Sunday brunch personally.
Awesome.
If I remember correctly, that's a pretty good brunch too. So that's a heck of.
Oh yeah, they charge out the wazoo for that brunch.
Well, will you be present for this brunch?
Sure, why not? I'll be present for the brunch, and I'll buy you a mimosa as well if you're of age
Brunch with
to
the
drink.
Con Org and a mimosa if you're of age. You heard it here first, folks.
If you're not of age, you just get orange juice.
Wazoo
Orange juice is good.
cost aside, that is a pretty tasty brunch. So that sounds like quite the sweet deal to me.
So that's another perk. You get to have Sunday brunch with the Con Org, and if you are over 21, you get a mimosa. Otherwise, you get a delicious glass of orange juice, which is very good in California, by the way.
But the bid has to get over 2,000, and in the chat, Steve Streza, one of the wonderful people behind the PonyCon app for iOS and soon for Android, if I'm not mistaken, will donate an additional $500 to the charity.
Oh, wow.
Check that out.
That is amazing.
So if you get above 2,000, you get, let's see, what was it? You get all the original prizes. You get Canterlot Pony Pass to BabsCon. You get a bronze pass to BronyCon.
Mm-hmm.
You get brunch at the SFO Hyatt Regency, paid for by yours truly, and as many mimosas as you can handle, and then now an additional $500 bid by, or as a matching bid by Steve Streza.
Yeah, so thanks again to Steve Streza for this generous offer, one of our high bidders. So
We're
let's
holding
get
that
that bid
fee.
up. Yeah, well, it's been in writing now, and it's been recorded, so there ain't no backing out now. So let's get that bid over 2,000 so that we can get all of those unlocked perks. It's kind of like a Kickstarter, except instead of kickstarting some people to sit on their butts and do nothing, we're kickstarting a charity to go out into the world and do something. So it's better than Kickstarter then. So let's see. After that amazing perk, where was I? I lost my place. Oh yeah. This is a little bit redundant with what we did earlier, but not quite. Kind of an overlap question. This is more of an open-ended one. Any interesting stories about dealing with VIPs? It can be something funny or something cute or surprising or heartwarming, like my little Flutter Yay story. Anyone want to take this one? I think, Josh, you were saying you had an idea for this one.
Oh man, I have the best thing for this. So This previous year, BronyCon introduced a really awesome thing. Says the person who suggested it, says the person who purchased it, etc. But BronyCon introduced a T-shirt cannon to its mix, to which all of our attendees seemed very delighted by the fact that they could get cool T-shirts at our opening and closing ceremonies, as well as other places at the con. But this involves VIPs. So at BronyCon 2014, at our guest dinner, because we provide a specific dinner for our guests, my heads of VIP, my heads of guest relations, ended up having to go to a meeting, and ended up being myself, my vice chair, John Fulner, and a bunch of the guests just sitting there, finishing dinner, finishing cake, because we also buy our guests a really unique cake from Charm City Cakes, the guys who do the show Ace of Cakes. And I look at them and I say, hey guys, you want to do something really awesome? And they just all look at me, and in unison they say, yes, of course, who wouldn't want to do something awesome? So I escort them out of the restaurant and to the convention center, and I take them up to Fulner's in my ready room in the convention center, which is where we hold our daily meetings. And it's also where we kind of hold our T-shirt cannon from on a day-to-day basis. And so I told them, you guys get to take a couple of T-shirts and pop off shirts from our T-shirt cannon. And literally everybody at the dinner was over the moon excited by the fact that they got to do this. So I showed them how to use the T-shirt cannon in a very safe manner. Hold it at this angle, press the lever for this long, don't point it at anybody point blank, and then press the button and boom, shirt goes out, goes a long distance, everybody has a good time. So we went down to one of the unused halls in the Baltimore Convention Center with, I want to say, 2/3 of the guests of honor. And we sat there for a good 2 hours popping off T-shirts with Sibsy and Mando Pony going long, trying to catch these T-shirts. And let me tell you, there is nothing more badass looking, another coin in the swear jar, I apologize, than Heather Breckle just standing there in just the most dramatic pose ever, getting ready to shoot a T-shirt out of a cannon. I'll see if I can find a couple of pictures that we could possibly put them in the stream or whatever. But it is easily one of the best moments I've ever seen with some of the guests of honor, just sitting there laughing their butts off, shooting T-shirts out of a projectile device for the better part of an hour to 2 hours. It was probably one of the several highlights of BronyCon.
I just want to chime in with that and say I have a massive fan crush on Heather Breckle. She's just too awesome for words.
She is really awesome. You are not kidding.
We just, by the way, we just announced her, don't you know? We just announced Heather Breckle and Tony Fleece for this year. Ooh, so I get to see her again. Woo, woo, woo.
Awesome
She
sauce.
lives really close to me. She goes to the Not at Comic-Con party. It's a street away from me. It's really weird. I'm just oh, I see you at conventions and everything.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. It's sometimes you seem to bump into the same people at each convention, and even people where you wouldn't expect to see them there, it's oh, they're here.
Right, it's what, you live here? What? I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, it's you never know who you'll bump into. Anyone else with any interesting, for any definition of interesting, VIP stories?
I already gave away my Peter New willing to dress as an eloquent princess story.
That's true.
That was pretty damn cool.
That was pretty astounding, and yeah, the look on Tara's face. Okay, so I think we'll move on to number 16 then. Now, this one can be answered in one of two different ways. You can either take it literally or metaphorically. What does a nightmare, either a literal nightmare or a metaphorical nightmare? I was speaking of nights. We actually have to have one of our guests bow out because she is tired. So every pony get to wish goodbye to Jade Aurora, the chair of DrawnCon, co-chair of DrawnCon, also co-founder, also formerly of BronyCon, also formerly of half the other cons on this podcast, an amazing con veteran and a good friend of mine and a really excellent person all around. So, Jade, anything last to say to the stream?
Well, it's not just because I'm tired. I do have to help a friend move in about 7.5 hours now. But
Did I mention that she's a regularly amazing person? Like, every day she does something that impresses me.
I'm not good at taking compliments. Thank you. Anyway,
It's okay. I can hear your blush. Anyways, go on.
No, I just wanted to say, since we're something a little different, if you guys are interested in cartoons that aren't just My Little Pony, we are the con to keep an eye out on. We're a small, intimate con. This year we had about 250 attendees. We just ran the con a week ago. It's probably going to be around this time next year, sometime in November, maybe early December. So if you do want to talk about cartoons that aren't just My Little Pony, if you're into Avatar, if you're into Gravity Falls, if you're into Steven Universe or anything like that, give us a look. If you feel like coming up to the Boston area, give us a look. Head to our website, drawncon.com. We've got some information from last year's convention, and hopefully we'll have information for you soon.
Awesome. So, again, that was drawncon.com. They just got over their second season, and now they are in season 3, to be continued, ... That's drawncon.com. That's drawn like you draw with a pen or a pencil, DRAWN con.com. And again, they are in the Boston area. The first year they were in Nashua, New Hampshire. Is that right?
Yep, that's the one.
And the second year they were in, what was the name of that lovely little city?
Westford.
Westford, yes. I had a blast there. Definitely something different than your standard pony fair. I had a poster I designed that says, "I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite poster on this wall," signed by Jennifer Hale. And that's not the sort of thing you see at, a My Little Pony convention. Definitely a different experience and a fun experience. So thank you again, Jade, and have a good rest, what little of it you can make, and tell your friend we all say hi.
Definitely, will do. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Night, Jade.
Good night, Jade. Can I possibly ask for a small favor in regards to Jade?
Yeah, what's up?
I would like everybody who's listening to the stream to, on Twitter...
No.
That Twitter name, of course, is at TRIARDTHEFOX. And then all you need to do is mention her on Twitter and with the word boop. That's right. I would like everybody to boop Jade on Twitter. For those who are not aware, me booping Jade is sort of a thing. And I want everybody to boop Jade.
I ship him.
Josh, if the messages on my phone wake me up in the middle of the night, I am actually going to come to Wisconsin and kill you, and oh my god, it's already going off.
You cannot wake up during the boops. You'll just see them in the morning and feel loved.
I see the avalanche beginning already. All
Good
right,
night,
night,
Jade.
Jade. Enjoy the boopage. So, 2 down. We still have 5 here from the panel, plus myself. I guess that's 5.5. We were done with the VIP question and moving into the nightmare question. What does a nightmare for a con org look like? And after this one, it's your turn, Emily. So have one in mind. But you can take this either literally or metaphorically, either a literal nightmare or just a nightmare in the colloquial way of saying. Anyone want to take this question?
I suppose I could take it again, 2 for 2. And I will preface it with a bit of a story. Every year, my security team does some risk assessment stuff, wherein... I'm sorry, I'm just looking at Jade's tweets right now, and they are so... everybody's freaking booping her.
There are a lot of boops in there.
I am easily amused right now. That's fantastic. Anyway.
Twitter bomb Jade. Twitter bomb Jade.
And serious face back on. Okay, so my security team every year does a lot of scenario training with each and every department that exists at BronyCon. We tend to play a game where, and I have to say this because it is the name of what the game we play is, and again, coin in the jar, get ready for the bleep, but we play a game called Fuck the Con, wherein we try to come up with scenarios on a department-to-department basis where we can screw over the convention in terms of something happening. It's actually something that, we deal with on a day-to-day basis. But what I'm going to try to do here for you after taking a long sip of my drink I'm going to try to come up with a true nightmare scenario for a convention. Okay, so you walk into the convention. It's the second day of the convention. Everything seems to be going fine. It's a normal morning. The convention wakes up. Attendees come. The guests of honor, your VIP handlers and your VIP escorts are able to take them from their offsite hotel to the convention center. Everything so far seems pretty okay. Day goes on. We got some VIPs in their panels. They do their panels. Everything is pretty okay there. We get them to the point where they are currently doing autographs in the autograph room. However, your head of security suddenly gets a private message on their channel. We find out that there is currently a riot breaking out in the autograph room. No one is actually explicitly able to figure out what is going on. All they know is there is a very large commotion, and somebody says the word Nicole, but no one understands exactly, besides the word Nicole, what is going on, because the person who's in charge of autographs is able to actually only get the word Nicole out because for whatever reason your radio repeaters are only able to make the communication go through jarbled. No one is exactly sure why. So you get something along the lines of blah, 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 Nicole, blah, 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 floor, blah, 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 panic. So you get your security team as well as your medical team just to be certain on your way over to the autograph room. When you get to the autograph room, you find not only an attendee on the ground, foaming at the mouth, and no one is exactly entirely sure why, but an attendee is foaming at the mouth in a pile of brownies as well. And for whatever reason, Nicole Oliver is sitting on the ground with them, and there is a group of attendees circling around them. And for whatever reason, Nicole is panic-stricken, and she is telling people to give him some air and trying to wipe away the foam that is coming from the mouth of this attendee. You don't know exactly what's up, but you walk up to Nicole and you ask her what happened while you tell your lead of medical to give some room to the person who is on the ground while trying to also have a bus, which for those who are in the crowd who do not know what a bus is an ambulance, to call for a bus to come and handle the attendee. Nicole tells you that the attendee brought some brownies for Nicole as a special gift to her. However, the handler explicitly told the attendee that they cannot do food gifts as a safety precaution. But the attendee said that the food was perfectly fine and that they would take a bite of the food just to prove that there was nothing wrong with it. However, it turns out that the attendee was diabetic and they went into a diabetic shock because of the fact that they were not thinking, and they just wanted to prove to Nicole that the brownies were okay and that if Nicole took the brownies, nothing bad would happen. And we're in this situation. Whereas it turns out it looks like this attendee is in a diabetic shock because they've eaten food well past their blood sugar levels, and we just don't know what to do. What do you do?
Jesus Christ, Josh.
I know.
Wow.
Oh,
I can't
hang
top
on.
that at
like,
all.
did you just pull that out, like, out of
Hang
nowhere?
on, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. Because the con chair gets there, and they come up with their plan in terms of how they are going to handle the attendees who are scattered around the convention. They have the PR team there in terms of figuring out how they are going to publicly react to the situation in order to let everybody know that the situation is under control. You have the venue people there who are there for the convention, and they talk to the con chair and let them know. It turns out your event insurance never actually processed.
And there's the punchline, folks.
And that is the kind of stuff that I think about 24/7. There is your nightmare of nightmare scenarios. You have guests of honor. You have attendees. You have the venue. You have your security stepping in. You have your public relations having to step in. You have your medical team stepping in. You have your risk assessment people stepping in. You have your ops people having to step in because the radio is screwed up for whatever reason. What do you do? Go.
Soil your pants and leave.
These are the kinds of things that BronyCon thinks about leading up to the convention.
May I just
I
say...
have a simple answer.
Yeah.
Call 911.
911, yes. Obviously, the medical team is already going to be calling for an ambulance, but the ambulance is not there yet. You still have to handle the situation that is around you with attendees gathering around the person who is foaming at the mouth because they are in a diabetic shock. Go.
Empty the room of attendees. Using your staff.
Commit harakiri.
You're right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's all I would do. There's nothing I mean, yes, there's the Good Samaritan law, but I'm not going to do too much because a lot of people are really sue happy, and that's horrible to have to say, but, you know, we don't have EMTs on our staff for a reason, because in California, the amount of sewage that will happen is insane. So, you know, you call 911 and you let the venue deal with it, and you just clear the room. And then console the poor Nicole Oliver, who's clearly in shock.
I just wanted to say, Josh, that there are a number of clubs in Manhattan where a person who could come up with a scenario like that could find useful employment. That is some serious sadism to come up with a scenario like that. I'm really impressed.
These are the kinds of things that I assume every convention at some point thinks about. Like I said, BronyCon explicitly plays Bleep the Con several times throughout the event, explicitly to make sure that every department knows exactly what they need to do if the scenario were to come up. And at least for us, in a situation where we have as many people as we have in a space that we have to think about those types of situations. I mean, I will begrudge that smaller cons, not even pony cons, but smaller anime conventions, for example, don't even necessarily have to worry or wonder about those sorts of things because those sorts of things probably won't come up. But we take it upon ourselves to make sure that if they come up, we are prepared. So that would be my absolute nightmare scenario. We have a guest who is panic-stricken.
Guys, we have a problem. Someone just dropped off. Oh, Sonia just dropped off. Yeah, Sonia dropped off.
But you know what, Josh? You're totally right. Yeah. A convention your size has to worry about those things because you're talking about your autograph room being a volume of people substantially larger than the smaller conventions. So you are totally right in that regard. Whereas a smaller convention could just clear a room of, you know, maybe 2,000 people. You're dealing with trying not to panic your 10,000 attendees.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, I would rather be overly prepared. I'm actually kind of curious to see what, after I'm done talking, and I apologize if I'm talking too much, I'd be very curious to see what the reaction of the chat at large was to a situation like that, to a situation where you have a grief-stricken guest of honor, an attendee who has gone into anaphylactic shock, where communication, for whatever reason, is down, and you need to react to that sort of situation. And on top of that, for whatever reason, your event insurance, which protects you from an attendee suing you, because of the fact that some such sort of thing happened, is no longer there. The only thing I think I'm missing from this sort of situation is a guest of honor has gone missing because they were kidnapped for whatever reason.
Actually,
that's my horror story.
That sounds like the plot of a movie.
There's nothing any of us can say that's going to top Josh, so I'm going to try to go the entire opposite direction and do sort of the con nightmare haiku. Well, not really a haiku. It won't be 575, but I'm going to deliver a con nightmare in 3 words, and we all know, some of those of us who are con orgs all know, and I think some folks out there all know, that this almost actually did happen. So here it is. Con org nightmare, 3 words. Tara. Strong. eggplant.
Yes. I've got another 3-word one. Hasbro shut down.
Ooh.
Sends chills down your spine, doesn't it?
It's a toss-up between when Hasbro put the ban on all people from the show attending conventions and not knowing where a VIP is because you haven't been able to contact them and you don't know what's going on. It's a toss-up because on the one hand, you've banked all this money on a convention with VIPs being there, and now Hasbro says, nope, sorry, sucks to be you. And on the other hand, you're kind of responsible for someone's well-being for the 72 hours that they're with you, and you can't find them.
Yeah, now I'm not going to sleep. Great, thanks.
Yeah, well, you know, scary things happen when you stay up into the wee hours of the night talking about con war stories.
It's only 10:30 over here.
Oh, that's right. Well, okay, 10:30. My bad.
Josh, please don't give us more nightmare scenarios. That one was terrifying enough.
He was offering to come up with some more, but I think we're all sufficiently traumatized.
I mean, I can come up with a scenario wherein you have to deal with a natural disaster that happens.
Dude, I live in California. What do you want? We know about this.
Okay, hang on. All right.
No.
This is going to kind of turn into like name that tune, where Sonia is going to be like, I can solve that scenario in X steps. Okay, so.
Oh, and then we all bid to see how many has the least amount of steps to solve the problem.
Exactly, Sonia. All right, so you have to deal with the fact that centered around the San Francisco area, there is a 5.1 Richter scale earthquake that happens in the middle of your convention, wherein one of your guests of honor is being transported from their hotel to the convention center itself. At the same time, part of the Hyatt has to deal with the reverberating effects have caused a minor amount of their shrubbery as well as decor to fall over, and the Hyatt has decided that they will not take chances and they want to close down all of the meeting space rooms in order to make sure that the people who are staying at the Hyatt are safe. What do you do?
Ooh. Well, let's start with the fact that that's actually impossible. That would not happen. They would just simply clear out the hotel. Let's just start there.
Not sure if that's better or worse.
Let's also dispense with the inevitable flippant answer, which is commit harakiri, which is my answer to everything. But as far as it goes, let's take the real nightmare scenario, which is, let us not forget that earthquakes are the only natural disasters that I can think of which just up and happen. Anything else, tornadoes, hurricanes, all that, you get a warning. Earthquakes, no warning. They've been trying to come up with a warning system, hasn't worked. So really, the nightmare there is not an anticipatory thing, it's a consequences thing. It's almost like Josh's nightmare scenario, only it's everyone and not just one person at the con. And all you can do if you have a large earthquake like that is try to, make sure that everyone who has the requisite skills to help in the way that they can, and try to get the authorities there. The venue will be doing the same, but it's just the common sense human response. There just is no con staff response to that. There just isn't. Shy of help all the authorities you can, make sure your attendees are fine, do what you can, but that's just the nature of earthquakes. If you've not been through them, you don't know. I mean, I'm sure that Karen's been through them.
Oh yeah, 5.1 is a little bit small. If you want true natural disaster, let's hike it up over at least a 6.5.
Yeah. The Loma Prieta quake that I was referring to, the one in 1989 that actually shut down the World Series and tore down bits at the Bay Bridge and knocked over some of our flyway highway, was a 7.1.
All right, you guys totally caught me. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. the land where the worst that we deal with is blizzards. I actually don't deal with. I think the last time Milwaukee dealt with an earthquake was in the 60s, where we had a residual earthquake that was felt during a Brewers game. So 5.1, if that's low, I apologize. Let's make it an 8.1.
Well, then everyone dies in the rubble.
Exactly. This is actually for the who all was at our opening ceremonies at Babs last year? At Babs this year. Okay, so yeah. Do you remember the cutesy little scenario we had Tabitha record for us on video?
I sure do.
Yeah, and that was actually the scenario. There was a giant earthquake, the whole peninsula falls into the sea, and half of the staff are there, so there's no more My Little Pony anymore. There's your nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I suppose at some point things start to veer off from this is a con org problem to this is a human emergency. And the question is, where is that line drawn? And sometimes I guess it can be kind of a jaggedy line, because as people running conventions, con orgs are expected to deal with almost anything, but there's always something that crosses that line. Actually, listening to this, I've actually thought this could make a really interesting interactive fiction game. Bleep, BronyCon, the text adventure.
And you know what? You're right. I mean, at a certain level, this is obviously a human disaster sort of scenario. But with that human disaster scenario, the convention must react. The convention needs to be prepared in order to deal with that human disaster scenario. I mean, actually, funny enough, BronyCon is capable in terms of its protocols to deal with a zombie apocalypse. It's not that much different from the CIA version.
We all have our zombie apocalypse plans, jeez.
But I use that extreme example to kind of show that. Like, if a convention has a hurricane or if they have a earthquake, the convention itself needs to be able to respond to that in terms of how the convention itself reacts.
Well, thankfully, the seismic building codes around here mean that the buildings will withstand quite a bit, so we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, the whole zombie thing, I mean, half of us were counting on that happening during Nightmare Nights, but no, the zombie uprising never occurred on schedule. Where were we? Oh, yeah, we were done with the Nightmare thing, and I think
let's do something cheery.
Yeah, I think Emily had a couple of more uplifting questions.
I do, yeah. So it's 10 p.m. on a Saturday night at a convention. Who would you be hanging out with, and why?
This question is asking for name dropping.
It so is.
Drop it.
So no names dropping at all. I can actually tell you exactly where I was at 10 p.m. Saturday, my convention. I was sitting side stage of Bronypalooza, watching the Bronypalooza concert unravel, trying to keep it very succinct. Bronypalooza 2014 in of itself, that Saturday concert was easily the best concert I've had the experience of being at. The musicians in of themselves performed very well. There was no hiccups as opposed to the Friday concert. Oh boy. I just had some major reverb. One of the better concerts I've actually ever been to. Not quite to the level of, say, Weird Al at, say, Summerfest or any Summerfest concert, but one of the better Brony conventions in terms of concerts I've been to, especially the point where Alex S. ended up coming on stage and our, what's the word for it? Those bike racks, the bike racks, the minute Alex S., not announced, not advertised, came on stage to perform. Those bike racks moved forward 6 inches to a foot out of the sheer excitement of it. That was easily that is where I am on a Saturday of my con. I am watching Bronypalooza happen, watching these musicians perform the magic that they perform for thousands of people, providing a hell of a great time.
Let's give some credit where credit is due then, actually, because who was the amazing person that put on that concert?
I mean, there's lots of people.
You know who I'm talking about.
I know, and I'm getting to that. I want to make sure everybody gets credit where credit's due for that.
Well, that'll take forever.
There's lots of people for Bronypalooza 2014 that deserve credit. They're the musicians themselves. The musicians themselves deserve immense credit because they were given a lot more freedom to make the concert their own at Bronypalooza 2014 than any other Bronypalooza prior to it that they performed at that made them able to make the concert that much better. My events team as well for making sure that things like equipment and actually the process in order for those musicians to perform was done in such a way in order to make sure that they perform at that specific level. And of course, the person you are alluding to and the person who every time I end up going to California, I make sure to see is Pinkaboo, who is our musician liaison, who does all the negotiation and working with the musicians as well.
Pinkaboo Pinkaboo is the concert. She's the concert coordinator to the stars of the Brony fandom at this point. She put on our Nayhem concert, which was unbelievably epic. She put on Bronypalooza. She put on the concert most recently at Everfree Northwest. And yeah, you cannot find a better concert coordinator anywhere in the fandom, I don't think, and certainly not one that just has as much love for the musicians as she does, and therefore they really put their heart into the concert for her, and that's why these concerts lately have been so much better.
Shout outs for Pinkaboo. So
the question was 10 p.m. Saturday night. Where am I? I am a bad person, and I'm just going to say this right now. I can tell you exactly where I was. I was at Dusty Cat's Uber exclusive party, sitting next to Peter New and Mitch Larson while they played on a couple instruments and just sang silly songs. And I can't think of anywhere else I would rather have been, although I can think of many, many, many other places at the con that would have been perfectly lovely.
Cool. Anyone else? Where are you at 10 p.m. on a Saturday at your con?
10 p.m. on a Saturday.
I was... Oh, go ahead, Karen.
Oh, okay. All right. Usually, I'm very well behaved. I don't drink when I'm on the clock, so I don't drink from day 0 to day 3. And so I'm probably sitting in a green room with a few select staff members getting ready to go to bed.
Wait, hang on a second. Did you just say bed at a convention? Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm really good about making sure I get my sleep in so that I can function really well. You know, I don't want to be hungover or sleep deprived and then I can't make good decisions. So
that's amazing.
I do make sure I get in good sleep.
Like even when I just vend, I have trouble making 3 hours of sleep.
I know, it's hard to fall asleep at a convention.
Amazing. Sandy, I think you were next.
I was going to say, I know for a fact this year, I believe I was sharing some pizza that I'd purchased for my staff in the operations room. I like Karen, I don't, I run my con, it's a fantastic party that all my friends get to attend that I don't get to see. I go to other cons at 10 p.m. to have fun. At Babs Con, I was at, I believe, a room party, having quite an entertaining time at Babs Con, but my own con, I have to be the responsible adult in the room.
Yeah, there's always that thing. I think we've got everyone's answer, right? Karen, Sandy, Sonia, Josh. Yeah, I think we got everyone's answer. Emily, did you have another one lined up? Yeah, you did. Number 19.
19. Okay, so name a con other than your own that you really enjoyed.
I had fun at Babs Con. That's the... Babs Con was actually the only other Brony convention I went to in 2013, if I recall correctly. No, that's not true, but Babs Con was it.
Nightmare Nights. I always enjoy going to Nightmare Nights.
Well, you took the answer out of my mouth. I was going to do the little bit of mutual back scratching and say Nightmare Nights as well. Because, yeah, I mean, it was the first time I was able to just enjoy a pony con without working it at all.
Honestly, sorry, I apologize. There's no back scratching I could really provide here. But the best convention that I ended up going to outside of our own, because that's totally a cheat answer.
Yes, it is.
Was probably Ponyville Cider Fest, with Nightmare Nights Dallas and then BabsCon being very close second and thirds. Mostly because of the fact that in terms of first of all, I'm from Milwaukee. Ponyville Cider Fest takes place in Milwaukee. I live in Milwaukee. I am totally biased to that. But in terms of true sort of relaxed convention sort of standards, Ponyville Cider Fest did a very fantastic job of being a very relaxing convention. Plus, they had the handicap of being a convention that is run by people who have been running anime conventions for 5 to 10 years. A very close second, with no real good way of me being able to defer between the two of them, would be Nightmare Nights Dallas and then BabsCon. Both of those conventions were very fantastically run. Both of them had a couple of hiccups, as any convention has. But both of those did a really good job. BabsCon is more going for sort of kind of a premier convention, and Nightmare Nights Dallas is going more for, it's the last convention of the year, or one of the last conventions of the year, and it's sort of kind of like an unwind convention where everybody kind of chills and relax. So first, second, third, those would be my responses. Second and third are too close to call.
I gotta admit, I like being in that beginning of the con season in position because, I want to throw that rocker that just gets the whole crowd into it, you know?
It's definitely in a great position where you amp up everybody. You are the convention that starts everything up in the year.
Booyah.
Why didn't anyone say Vegas?
I don't
I
take
wonder.
it as pressure. I take it as a challenge. Challenge accepted. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Does anyone else have any other cons other than their own to give shout-outs to? No?
I mean, I guess outside of our own scene, PAX is a fantastic convention. I go to PAX nearly every year. I enjoy video games, and I actually look at PAX as a primary example of ways BronyCon itself can operate in terms of general attendee interaction. So PAX is good. Otakon is also a fantastic convention, although between you and me and the Hunter and some other people, I think that moving to Washington, D.C. is a terrible move, and I will be okay with that because that just leaves Baltimore for us. But again, that's just between us and the fence posters here.
That's us and the 131 fence posts, and yeah. Okay.
Actually, I got to give a shout out to my first con, my home con, my annual just chill out con, and that's BayCon. If you like sci-fi, particularly have a literary bent, you should go to BayCon. Next year's theme is pretty interesting. They're doing Women of Wonder, and they've got Amber Benson coming, and I'm just dying to meet her. So there you are.
That's the one that I remote paneled at last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, that's the one. I'll be happy to do that again. Now we've got the visual aids worked up.
Yeah,
okay, so
fun.
guys, it was fun. Small audience, but very fun and intimate, and I'd do it again. It is almost 2 a.m. here on the East Coast. It is almost 11 p.m. there on the West Coast. So we've got a few questions left in our bag, and we are going to go through them rapid fire style, which means
Lightning
two things.
round.
Lightning round, which means two things. One, it means to the rest of our panel here that you're not going to have too much to make your point, so get your answers ready, short, sweet, and to the point. I think you all have your cheat sheets so you know what's coming up and in the order they're coming up. And number two, it means that for those of us interested in bidding, you have a very small amount of time in which to bid out that epic $2,001 bid from Zivelin Bain. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And be the high bidder for our auction, which includes not just a piece of art by Leakfish with prose by G.M. Barrow, but also VIP admission to both of the big Brony conventions, one on the East Coast, BronyCon, one on the West Coast, BabsCon, plus brunch with the founder at BabsCon, and the adulation of all of your peers. So you have maybe 10 minutes left to get your bid up, so get your bid up. And without any further ado, we are going to go into our lightning round, and I'm just going to circle around everyone in order.
Purple, I apologize. Just
Yeah.
the one other thing that I want to mention. The promo code that BronyCon is providing, which is
Code redacted.
that is
Code redacted.
where you get $10 off BronyCon admission, and that $10 that you are getting off will go towards this charity cause.
Is this case sensitive? Can it be lowercase, or does it have to be uppercase?
Just for safety's sake, let's make it all lowercase.
Okay, all right, so try it all lowercase, guys. That's
Code redacted.
And it's going to get bleeped out on the stream, so those of you hearing the recording later, sorry, you missed the boat. Next time, be sure to tune in. So with that in mind, be sure to enter that promo code when you register for BronyCon, and bid up that high bid, because you don't have much time. So I'm just going to go in the order I see you in my Skype window. Let's see, question number 2. What has been your greatest challenge as a con org? One sentence. This is going to be fun. Sandy, your greatest challenge, one sentence. And if it rhymes, even better. No, I'm kidding about that part.
No rhyming, but I will say organizing my team and getting everybody in the positions they need to be in.
Yeah, that's true. It's always difficult to make sure the right people are in the right place, and sometimes they aren't who you think they'll be at first, the right people for the right place. Sonia, your greatest challenge as a con org?
Honestly, it was just making people believe. And
Yeah.
if you can keep people believing, they will be pumped up and do what needs to be done.
Spoken as a true first-year con org, and you pulled that off remarkably. Josh, what was your greatest challenge as a con org?
All right, I'm going to totally make this rhyme. So, my greatest challenge is making sure that my managerial team is supreme. Damn it, I screwed that up.
Close enough.
The real challenge for me is making sure that my managerial team is tip-top notch, and they are able to manage the rest of the staff, because I manage about 20 to 25 people. They manage the other 400 to 500 people that run BronyCon.
All right. Well, you don't get the bonus points for rhyming, but all right. Karen, what is your greatest challenge? What has been your greatest challenge as a con org?
Cajoling volunteers to work harder than they work at their jobs for you.
That is hard. That is very hard. And a lot of people don't realize that con org is unpaid labor, and it's very stressful unpaid labor at times. Even for cons that go well, it can be stressful. Okay, so next question, number 4 is actually done. This is actually kind of related. Number 10, this is more of a general thing. In your day-to-day work as a con org, what's the biggest problem you have to wrestle with on a regular basis? What would you say is the biggest work component of your workload? Starting with Sandy.
Lines of communication, making sure that everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, that's always a problem. It's a little bit like herding cats. Sonia, your biggest day-to-day challenge?
Well, Sandy kind of stole my answer, but it's making sure that everybody knows what they need to know, because the last thing I need is somebody coming to me saying, why was I not told this?
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, biggest day-to-day challenge?
Making sure that each of my departments knows and understands what their deadlines are, and that they are achieving those deadlines.
Ooh,
good one.
That's a good one. I remember when I was privy to a certain convention schedule that they were still making up a few weeks before the con. That's very common, as it was referenced in that comic strip, Unconventional, which, by the way, Josh, I really need to get down to reading because it's pretty close to home.
Don't worry, I'm going to totally pimp that at the end of this.
Yeah,
That actually killed my afternoon when I heard about it.
yeah, it's amazing. Karen, your greatest day-to-day challenge in your con org work?
Communication, like everyone else said, but to add to it, balancing a fictitious budget. A budget
Yes.
that you're gambling on that doesn't exist.
Yes, and then that's I've said many times, convention expenses are always front-loaded, and convention income is always back-loaded. You always get hit with a giant bundle, a package of expenses on day 0, but you don't get the majority of your money until around a week or so before the con. So it's tough. It is imaginary money until the end, as our friends in Vegas found out the hard way. Okay, so we're going to move on to a different question. Sandy, what has been your best interaction with the media? Now, your best interaction, not, Howard Stern horror stories, with the media in your work.
For the most part, we have been under the radar of the local media. We have not necessarily sought them out like some other conventions have. But for the most part, we get along with folks pretty well within our fandom media. I really don't have a lot to say about exterior outside media.
Okay, fair enough. Sonia, how about you? Your best story for something good that happened in your interaction with the media, be it in or out of the fandom?
Well, that's a really good question. I would guess that it was getting interviewed so early on in the process. Does everyone here know who Ohad Kana is? If you don't, he's a gadfly. He's around. I mean that in a nice way. He's around all the cons. He's a great guy. He just drags me over at SAC Brony to be interviewed by the local ABC affiliate, and the next thing I know, we got some good buzz off that.
Oh yeah, Ohad's amazing.
Yeah, so that would probably be the big one.
He's sort of a convention junkie. Go on, Sonia.
Well, that and getting Andrea Libman to tweet about us before we even existed, so that was kind of nice.
Oh yeah, so that does count as media. Social media is media. Justine, your best interaction with the media?
Okay, I'll do one fandom and one not fandom. The first one, fandom, would actually be probably not necessarily the most popular answer, but it would actually be Everfree Network in 2013. To this day, I still personally think that the streaming stuff that we did with Everfree Network in 2013 for the BronyCon at Home project was probably some of the best streaming that this fandom has done overall. Outside of fandom, I'm going to go ahead and say Original Media, who are the people who help produce and do the show Comic Book Men, who actually were at BronyCon this past year. They are an amazingly awesome group to work with. Keith Haskell is the person who is in charge of production for Comic Book Men at Original Media, and they did a fantastic job, both with all of our departments, with their own staff, in terms of making sure that before the con and at the con that BronyCon was properly represented, and as well as that the job was minimally invasive to both the attendees as well as to our staff.
Minimally invasive. It sounds like you're describing an appendectomy, but that's...
Well, not quite. But I mean, when you deal with things like camera crews, you want to make sure that attendees don't necessarily have to deal with that on a very large scale basis, where suddenly, oh look, here is a camera crew from channel whatever who is in our face, recording us for whatever. Guys were very discreet, very fantastic, and very welcoming of both the idea of BronyCon, the idea of bronies, as well as making sure that when they were doing their recording, they were not invasive at all with the overall attendee experience.
And I was not envious at all when I saw BronyCon getting covered for a whole episode of Comic Book Men. Not even a little bit. Nope. That was sarcasm, actually.
Yeah, I'm a huge Kevin Smith and a huge Comic Book Men and a huge Smodcast fan. So for anybody here, you should totally pay attention to Kevin Smith, Comic Book Men, Smodcast, the podcast. And I feel the way they handled the episode, as well as everything with that, was 9 out of 10, would do again.
Very cool.
Okay,
very
so
cool.
Let's keep this lightning round, folks.
Yeah,
lightning
and no, but that was good though. So Karen, your best dealing with the media.
We had the LA Times cover our March Marathon event back in 2012 when we announced EQLA, and it was a lovely article, and it was really great.
Cool. Yeah, it's nothing like getting recognition. I remember when the Wall Street Journal first covered BronyCon, and I was like, why does the Wall Street Journal? But I was expecting them to be hostile, but they weren't, and I still have a bunch of signed copies of it. Maybe I'll toss one in the charity auction this year. Anyways, all right, so moving right along. That was a good question. Bunch of great answers. So we've got number 17. This is sort of an aspirational thing. What is your greatest goal as a con org? Sandy, what's your greatest goal as a con org? Sandy?
Crickets.
Okay, I guess
I
Sandy?
accidentally muted my mic.
Oh, that happens.
Continue putting on the biggest BronyCon in the South. Continue to put on a great relaxing event for people at the end of the year, and continue to make enough money to keep going.
All very good goals. Okay, Sonia, how about you? What's your greatest goal as a con org?
I can sum it up in one sentence, and that is throw the con that I would die to go to.
Excellently said. And you, Justine?
That's a good answer, but I'm going to sum it up in one word with probably a way too long explanation of said word.
All right.
This is going to be interesting.
Persistence. I want to throw the convention that I want to go to, but at the same time, I want to throw the convention that is going to be around for a long time. To use certain nomenclature that parts of the fandom use, this ride one day shall end. We joke about the fact that the ride will never end. No one is going to get off of Josh Dean's or Mr. Bones or whatever you want to say, their wild ride. But someday will come that this ride will end. And I want to make sure that BronyCon stays long past that end. Whether it be for bronies, whether it be for something beyond bronies, including bronies, I want to make sure that BronyCon continues well throughout the years, because Jessica, you captured lightning in a bottle with BronyCon. I won't lie to you. You definitely did that. I will agree with you when I say I don't think anyone possibly could have started BronyCon, but my big thing is I want to make sure BronyCon is around, and I want to make sure it stays for years to come.
Well said. That was a very well said sentence. Very long sentence, and I agree with you. And I wanted to say, back in my day, I had ideas for end of life scenarios for BronyCon, and I was always imagining, 2013 or 2014 would be when the ride would end. And now you guys are planned out through, when we'll have hoverboards and flying DeLoreans and.
We have hoverboards already. We saw the video. Jeez.
That's true. Yeah. You've got to have a hover park.
We live in a future where Tony Hawk rode a hoverboard. This is the future that we deserve, people.
Yeah.
This is the future that we deserve.
And next year, Hasbro with My Little Pony on the hoverboards. So,
yes.
Yeah, I got to say, I never pictured the ride would last that long.
Back in your day was like, what, 3 years ago?
I know, 3 years ago, and it seems like an eternity. So much has happened in this con scene, this con scene that didn't even exist 4 years ago. It's kind of mind-boggling. So, let's see. Karen, I don't think I got you.
I just want to put on an event where the Brony fandom feels safe to express their love for My Little Pony. And if I can do that, and they can feel comfortable, and they can come out of their bubble, my job is done.
Yeah, here. That reminds me of a lot of the stuff I actually said when I was interviewed for the first Brony documentary, the one with John Delancey. And basically I said, these conventions are a place where, a 30-something or 20-something-year-old guy wearing a Fluttershy t-shirt can come and feel safe and not feel like he's going to get laughed at. Instead, you might hear, "That's an awesome shirt. Where did you get it?" And that's part of the magical thing about these conventions, the acceptance that everyone gets to feel there. Okay, I think we have 2 more questions, number 21 and the last one. So let's do number 21. As I mentioned, the con scene is now almost 3.5 years old. Seems like much older, just because of the scope of things now compared to how they were then. What do you think is the most exciting thing to happen in the last 1 or 2 years in the pony convention scene? And that can be anything. It can be a trend. It can be a particular con. It can be whatever. Sandy, why don't you go first?
I like that some cons have taken on the idea of the parent in tow policy, or the, kids get in free idea that I wouldn't say that Nightmare Nights helped pioneer, but we utilized and have brought it into their own game. It makes it easy for families to bring their kids, lowers the overall cost for them, and helps us live up to the ideal of being a all ages fandom. I think that's cool.
Very cool. Yeah, that is great. I always love it when I see the parent and the kid coming together around the con, both of them cosplaying, usually in some synchronized manner, like Applejack and Apple Bloom, or Granny Smith and Applejack or Big Mac. It's adorable. How about you, Sonia? What's your favorite innovation in the con scene in the last year or two?
Well, I don't know if I would call it an innovation, because also, once again, Sandy stole one of my answers, because obviously we pride ourselves on our kids programming over at BabsCon. We had a really impressive kids programming track, I must say. Not to reach over and break my arm patting myself on the back, because I didn't actually do it. That was one of my staffers. Anyway, getting back to something resembling a sentence, I really, the big trend that I see is that the guests of honor, the folks that are, the show staff, the comics writers, all of them, are interacting with the fans in new and different ways. And you're starting to see folks get away from the monolithic, everyone's seen it before panel where, everybody just waits to kneel at the microphone and ask their question about how you got into voice acting, and moving on, because, there's only so many times you can do that within a fandom, even one this young. We've already had hundreds of, at least something like 100 cons already now devoted to this fandom.
At least half that, at least 50, if not closer to 100. Yeah,
it's somewhere up there, and so it has to change. And really, when it comes right down to it, that's, I think, the big change is I feel like the guests feel more empowered now that they've been to some of these cons, and they know that we're not going to kill them, that they can just let it all hang out a little bit. And that's what I really like, is feeling that sense of connection to these people that bring us something that gives us joy, And so that shrinking distance is just so cool. Yeah, people are cool.
It really is. The interaction between show staffers and show producers and the fandom is just remarkable. How about you, Josh? What's your favorite innovation in the last year or two of the con scene?
So the emphasis on children, I want to echo. All of the conventions seem to have brought that sort of emphasis to light more and more as we have gone along. It's really nice to watch these conventions kind of come full circle to the point where we are starting to put some sort of emphasis on the people who the show is actually demographically for. And I feel like that is a fantastic thing, especially since the children, adorable, when they go to these panels that are explicitly for them, Oz and all that happen. The second most important thing for me that hasn't been mentioned yet is accessibility. BronyCon in and of itself, and I apologize, I did not necessarily mean for this to be something where I'm necessarily pimping my own convention, but BronyCon has in the past year or so really tried to emphasize a level of accessibility to all of its attendees, and more so potential attendees. This past year, we did our color communication badges, which were meant for all of our attendees in order to provide them a way to express non-verbally how they felt in terms of interacting with the multitude of people who came to our event. And it was, with some minor consequence, very overall well received, and something that we're going to continue to do for years to come. But on top of that, this next year, we're going to continue that, and we're going to try to make sure that accessibility goes past that in terms of people who are not necessarily able to, say, for example, walk, people who need to take elevators in order to get around a area, people who are not able to necessarily walk around an area. BronyCon in the past year and for years continuing will continue to champion the idea of making sure that those who wish to attend these types of events are able to attend them in such a easy manner.
All right. Yeah, and it's totally okay to pimp your stuff on this show. Everyone who's invited is invited to pimp their own stuff and eat their own dog food and pimp their own dog food and all of that good stuff. That's always been a part of the show to let people self-promote.
Babscon.com.
Yeah, there we go. And we've, by the way, for those following Babscon on Twitter, they don't have @BabsCon. It's @BabsCon SF. I always make that typo myself. Some guy named Babineau or something has. Anyways, Karen, you're the last one for this question, and then we move on to our final question. So, Karen, what is your favorite innovation in the My Little Pony convention scene in the last year or two?
Well, the kid answer has been taken, so I won't say that again. I will say, and it won't be a popular answer, but I really appreciate that conventions now understand that live streaming is not a good idea because it devalues the ticket of the people that you're asking to pay when you turn around and then give it for free. And that's kind of nice to see because these attendees deserve exclusivity. I can't speak, it's late. But they deserve the exclusiveness that they get when they buy that ticket.
Interesting. Yeah, so it seems like there are a wide variety of opinions about live streaming, and I guess that'll come into play when I do my next show with live streamers, as I've done in the past. I should remember to bring that up. Note to self, because that's a really interesting point to bring up. All right, now we move on to our final question. I always like to leave on an uplifting note. So our last question here, and you can be a little more long-winded, but not whole story long-winded. I'm looking in a certain direction. But take a paragraph or so for this one. What is the most rewarding part of your job as a con org? Sandy, let's go with you first.
When everything is said and done, and everybody, you have attendees telling you what a great time they had and how they can't wait to come back for the next one, that is very, it puts all of your hard work and the weekends of not sleeping really into perspective. And it's like, I helped put on this event for 1,000+ people and they all had a good time. I guess I'll leave this again.
Yeah, that was always magical. Josh is being asked to be saved for last. Okay. All right, I can do that. So we'll skip over Josh after Sonia then. Sonia, what is your most rewarding part of your job as a con org?
Well, Sandy has developed a real knack for taking my answer. It's every time someone says thank you. It's every time someone says I had a great time. It's every time someone says that was the best weekend of my life. It was the look in that little girl's face when she got a crown put on her head by Celestia. It's all of those things. It's just knowing that you give joy, that you create a memory that'll last for a lifetime with someone. And I mean, what's better than that?
Yeah, I'm like starting to get teary-eyed here, guys. All this stuff is bringing back a lot of memories. Skipping over Josh for now per his request, and let's get Karen. Karen, what's the most rewarding part of your job as a con org?
It definitely is, when people come up and they say, I had such a good time, or my son or daughter had such an amazing time. I can't tell you how I was at Kamikaze, and the amount of people, they didn't know who I was, but they kept saying, I wish EQLA would come back. I wish EQLA would come back. And that really means a lot because, the whole point is to make people feel good while they're there. And the other thing, too, is watching the fans have that moment of interaction with whatever VIP that they're seeing, and they get that little bit of connection, and sometimes it's really heartfelt and crying happens, and it's moving to see people affected like that. So I think that's just kind of a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really is. I was actually making a comment in the chat that this is sort of like in Peter Pan when they have to wish Tinkerbell back, and well, they did that with the EQLA. It's coming back. It's a wonderful thing, and I hope to be there. So last but not least, we are ending with Josh Dean, my successor as chair of BronyCon. And Josh, what's your most rewarding part of your job?
I'm honestly actually not even going to say it because it's very much exactly similar to what these people have said. I feel like what's more important to state is the fact that each and every convention organizer here has said the exact same thing. And that thing being that the reason they do this is because of the people. The fact that they have all have said that, in my eyes at the very least, has really solidified them as the people who should be in place to run their events. Because that is exactly why all of us do what we do. It's why we put together these countless hours, these sometimes thankless hours, in order to make sure that our events not only run, but run smoothly, run without hiccups, and run with happy faces from everybody who puts forth their money in order to come to these events. The fact that everybody here has explicitly said, I do this for the people. I do this for the people who come to my event. I do this for the people who come to my event and then leave it with a smile on their face and say to themselves, this was a good idea. I am glad that I came here for this. That they go to bed with a smile on their faces because their attendees say this. These are the people who should be running these events. And these are the people who are running these events. In my eyes, more than anything, more than my own event, that is what puts a smile on my face. That the right people are the ones who are running these events. The people who should be running these events. And the people who, for years, hopefully, will continue running these events.
That was beautiful.
It was beautiful, but do you really want us to die from running cons for that many years? I mean, come on, Josh, dude, seriously. I just feel
That's
like
the flip side.
I will tell you what. If it is for the Purple, then that is exactly
the Purple.
Oh my God! He made a Code Z reference.
For the Purple.
For the Purple.
Let it not be said that I am not able to end a discussion with a very sentimental sort of comment.
That was amazing. Well, guys, this has been, I think, one of my longest, if not my longest panels to date. Certainly one of my most rewarding ones. We have managed to get a high bid of $2,001 for our art prize, which again is going to be a half a page of prose written by G.M. Barrow, which again, it's not canon, consider it apocryphal. And then that prose is going to get illustrated by Leakfish. Everything is going to get printed up. It's going to get autographed. It's going to get nicely framed. And it's going to get sent to the winner, who also receives, because the bid went over $2,000, enhanced admission to both BronyCon and BabsCon. And as one last reminder, for everyone else registering for BronyCon, they have generously donated a code of, is it?
Code redacted.
It is.
Code redacted.
That is.
Code redacted. Code redacted.
Yeah.
Code redacted.
And that will not only get you a discount, but get our charity, which is Equality Now, one of the most pioneering women's rights groups in the world, the equivalent that you got in your discount. This is a fantastic way of BronyCon showing their support to charity, which is something BronyCon's always been great about. And thank you to all of our wonderful panelists. I'm going to go over them in no particular order. We have Sonia Lin, the chair of BabsCon.
Actually, can I dive in with one little thing?
Yeah, everyone
and
can.
Also, Also, let's thank Steve Strezza for that extra $500.
Yes,
so the
thank you
actual amount
ever
is
so much.
2,500 won.
We're actually going to be giving $500 more because one of our high rollers has generously donated another $500. So that's $2,501 donated just from this. Plus another person gave, I think they said they gave 100. They just gave 100 just out of the air. So we've generated $2,601 tonight. Thank you ever so much to the generous people of this fandom for making this possible. I've never ceased to be amazed by the generosity of this community.
And by the way, of course, come to BabsCon because the announcements are about to start flying fast and furious, and you're going to want to see these people. So
Babscon.com. They're the big con in San Francisco, and I'll be there. All right, so we also would like to say goodbye belatedly to the people who had to jet. Bajati, the creator, and I think his current title is managing chair or something like that. Anyways, head honcho for Everfree Northwest, a wonderful event in Seattle that's been going on since 2012. He had to leave a little while ago, but if you've been living under a rock and you haven't heard of Everfree Northwest, check out their site at everfreenw.com. Again, they're in Seattle. Also, we had to leave was Jade Aurora, who's the co-chair of DrawnCon, up not too far from Boston. And she also worked for a number of other conventions, and that's a general Western animation convention. It's a little smaller than something like BronyCon, but it's a different sort of more intimate experience and definitely worth trying if you're in the Northeast especially. Again, that's DrawnCon.com. Also wanted to thank Karen Padilla. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Also known as Glittering Pony from Equestria LA, which is back, folks. That's equestriala.com, right?
Correct.
And any last things you wanted to say?
Just that I really appreciate being included in this, and just keep an eye on our Twitter at Equestria LA and our website and our Facebook page for all the information coming up on when that will be happening.
Yeah, I'm pretty psyched. I keep checking your website, seeing what gets updated. It's going to be fun to see it unfold. Also saying goodbye to Chef Sandy of Nightmare Nights Dallas, and he's the co-chair, right, Sandy?
Yep.
And you're what, nightmarenights.net, is that correct?
Correct.
And want to say a last few words?
Well, y'all are in North Texas, or, well, anybody, come on down to Nightmare Nights 2015. October 23rd, 25th. We've just wrapped up and put a bow on 2014, so we don't have any guests announced yet, but rest assured we are working hard on getting an awesome lineup for year 3.
Just wanted to say I came there from New York. It was totally worth it. Will do again. 10 of 10. Would attend again. I guess we'll close with Mr. Dean again. Josh Dean, chair of BronyCon, which should in this fandom need no introduction. Any last words?
Yes. The people who run these conventions who were able to make this episode of The Old Great Mare, Episode 6, Con Orgs, but on top of them, the people who weren't necessarily able to make them for whatever reason, these people put together a lot of effort in order to bring their events to the Purple, and all of them, in one shape or another, but all shapes really, deserve the merits for which they work, as well as the attendance that they receive. All of them provide a very unique aspect to the pony convention scene, and I suppose in DrawnCon scene, its own unique Western animation scene, but still to some extent the pony convention scene. I'd like to thank, on behalf of everybody, the work that you have put forth towards putting your conventions on behalf of BronyCon, because you guys have taken your fisheye lenses and you have made the most amazing events that you are able to for them, for the people on this stream, as well as the people who are not aware of this stream. Thank you for the hard work that you do on behalf of BronyCon, and I hope as well the people who are on the stream and those who are watching it afterwards are able to then make it to our event as well. That would be bronycon.org. We are in Baltimore, Maryland. That will be August 7th through 9th. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I also wanted to thank my wonderful co-host for this episode, Emily Jones of Pegasisters Live. I believe you have your own website now?
We do. It's pegasisterslive.com.
So be sure to check that website out as well. That's pegasisterslive.com. And that's all for this episode of The Old Gray Mare, episode 6, focusing on con orgs. Join us next time when we do an episode all about artisan crafters, people who create things that aren't just drawings or paintings, people like Silver Slinger, for example, or paper ponies. Next time on The Old Gray Mare.
Fighting at the front many long years ago. Many long years ago. Many long years ago. Oh, the old gray mare was fighting at the front, fighting at the front, fighting at the front. The old gray mare was fighting at the front many long years ago. Oh, the old gray mare ain't what she used to be, what she used to be, what she used to be. The old gray mare ain't what she used to be many long years ago. Many long years ago. Many long years ago. Oh, the old gray mare ain't what she used to be, what she used to be, what she used to be. The old gray mare ain't what she used to be many long years ago.
Hold on there, hold still, God dang it. There she goes.
Whoa, whoa. Oh, the old gray mare, she kicked the whipple tree, kicked the whipple tree, kicked the whipple tree. The old gray mare, she kicked the whipple tree many long years ago. Many long years ago. Many long years ago. Oh, the old gray mare, she kicked the whipple tree, kicked the whipple tree, kicked the whipple tree. The old gray mare, she kicked the whipple tree many long years ago.
There's many a kicking the old gal yet. Whoa! Hold on there. What are you doing?
Oh, the old gray mare stood neath the apple tree, neath the apple tree, neath the apple tree. The old gray mare stood neath the apple tree many long years ago. Many long years